The Legacy of Professions starting from Danmachi. Chapter 41. Kiming, are you sure you want to join the Hestia Familia? Tiona stared at Lu Kiming in bewilderment. A moment ago he'd said he didn't fit into almost any Orario Familia, and now he suddenly wanted to join Hestia Familia. After all, the current Hestia Familia was a tiny familia with only one adventurer, no turf, no strength. Yes. From what I know, the goddess Hestia treats every child in her familia like family. Most importantly, she never interferes with their decisions, she just supports them in her own way. In the original story, even when Hestia knew Belle wanted to grow stronger because he admired ice, she didn't object, she went all out to help him. As for himself, Lu Kiming believed that when he eventually left this world to start a new journey, Hestia would send him off with blessings rather than ask him to stay. Joining Hestia Familia also gave him a perfect excuse to train Belle. Since you've decided, Kiming, we won't say anything more. Finn walked over and patted Tiona, who looked like she wanted to add something. Tiona, pack up the magic stones and drops. We'll head back to the 50th floor, regroup, and return to Orario. Yes, sir. The group packed their gear and started back toward the 50th floor. Deep in the dungeon, on some floor, the crimson-haired woman who had fought ice sat on a boulder. Facing her, an undeveloped fallen dryad orb flashed images of Lu Kiming's party battling the fallen dryad of the 59th floor. So they lost. Arya and that Lu Kiming really are formidable. The crimson-haired woman popped a magic stone into her mouth and crunched it like candy. Suddenly the fallen dryad gem in front of her blazed with light. Shut it. You'll get your food soon. The woman's eyes flashed with Ice's image as she swallowed another magic stone. Arya, wait for me. 17th floor, dungeon. Lu Kiming's group chatted casually while heading for the upper-level passage. 4 days earlier, after leaving the 59th floor, the first-tier members had spent half a day gathering magic stones and drops on the 58th floor. Reuniting with the second tier on the 50th floor, the expedition began its return to Orario. Lu Kiming's quest index now needed only 3 more monsters. Didn't expect the floor master to still be on cooldown, how lame. Glancing back, Lu Kiming had left most monsters alive for the second-tier rookies to gain experience, only finishing one off if they were in danger. The first-tier veterans all did the same, letting the newcomers grow while keeping them safe. Kiming, just grab any 3 monsters, stop bullying the poor floor master. Tiona laced her fingers behind her head and looked at him. Yeah, guess that's the only way. Lu Kiming sighed. He'd hoped to end his quest by re-killing his first-ever floor master, Goliath, for poetic closure, turns out the guy wouldn't respawn in time. Lefia, your luggage looks heavy, want me to carry it? Ice moved to the back of the party and gently asked the downcast Lefia. No, I couldn't possibly. Under Ice's caring gaze, Lefia's heart raced and her cheeks flushed. TCH, Ice, let's go. Ignore this deadweight. Bert, hands in his pockets, yanked Lefia's pack off her back as he passed and slung it over his own shoulder. Ignoring their stares, he swaggered off with his trademark arrogant stride. Haha, Bert, can't you just be honest for once? Tiona laughed at the werewolf's awkward kindness. Who are you calling an idiot, you idiot Amazon? Who just said idiot? Idiot wolf. Crack. Rumble. The wall beside them split into a spiderweb of cracks, chunks of stone raining down. Roar. Dozens of minotaurs burst out, surrounding the party, their blood-red eyes locked on them. Minotaurs, and quite a few. Lu Kiming rubbed his chin, the scene felt oddly familiar, like deja vu. Yeah, let's clean them up fast. Finn nodded to the Amazon sisters. Just waiting for you to say that. Tiona skipped up to a minotaur and tilted her head. Hey there, here I come. Gra. The minotaur stared, its bovine brain unable to compute why this puny human wasn't afraid. Boom. With a light hop Tiona side-kicked its skull, bone shattered, teeth and tongue flew. By the time she landed, the beast had crumbled to ash, leaving only a magic stone. Gra. 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 The surrounding minotaurs backed away, terror flickering in their red eyes. Yo, little bros, don't run, let's play. Lu Kiming appeared behind 2 minotaurs, threw an arm around each neck, and grinned. Gra. The pair roared, whipping their horned heads like lances straight at him. Fencing. I love it. He caught one horn in each hand, sprang upward, and lifted both bulls into the air. Mid-air he slammed their horns together. Graw! Each minotaur got skewered by the other's horn, skull to mouth, and crumpled. Thud thud. The two turned to ash, ending their brief fencing careers. The remaining minotaurs howled, spun around, and bolted for the upper floors. Huh! They're running. The Amazon sisters gaped at the fleeing monsters. Hey! Aren't you guys supposed to be the monsters here? Bert yelled after the retreating bulls. Finn noticed something wrong with their escape route. Crap! Ahead is the stair to the upper floors. Other adventurers are up there. And some are only level 1. Leffia shouted. After them, don't let a single one get away. Typing in hospital today, noisy nurses checking temp, swabs, blood, pressure, plus someone screaming in pain. From noon till now only one chapter done. I'll grab food then write the next. The moment Finn finished, Liu Qiming dashed out first. He now remembered why the scene felt so familiar. Wasn't this exactly the first meeting between Belle and Ice in the original story? In the original, Loki Familia's expedition had stopped at the 50th floor. On the way back, just like now, they were suddenly surrounded by minotaurs on the 17th floor, yet the monsters fled to the upper floors once they sensed Loki Familia's strength. When only one minotaur remained, Belle happened upon it. Just as it was about to kill him, Ice arrived in time and saved him. Watching Ice rescue him, Belle fell for her and awakened the skill, Argonaut. With the help of that precocious skill, Belle became the fastest adventurer in Orario to reach level 2. Now, though, Liu Qiming planned to change the plot, he would be the one to save Belle. His own successor couldn't be pining after someone else. Swish! Liu Qiming shot forward so fast that he overtook the fleeing minotaurs in an instant, and accidentally passed the one in the lead. Well, this is awkward, looks like I'll have to roar. The lead minotaur trembled as it stared at Liu Qiming. It recognized the human who had effortlessly slaughtered 2 of its kin. Recalling their deaths, its roars stuttered with terror. Roar all you want, now scram. Liu Qiming grabbed the minotaur by the horn and hoisted it like a chick. He'd stayed his hand and even cleared a path, yet the beast still didn't dare leave. So rude, he'd have to do it himself. Off you go. Aiming the monster at the upper floor exit, he kicked it square in the rear. Ahu moo. With its backside smashed, the minotaur screamed through the air, its left butt cheek visibly swelling. Smack. It crashed onto the upper floor rump first, onto a sharp stalagmite. Its shrieks doubled in agony. Seconds later it staggered up, the sensation of something foreign sliding out of its lower half excruciatingly vivid. Growl. Biting back the pain, it glanced at the blood-smeared spike, the crimson glaring. Roar. Its eyes blazed redder. After a last glare at the spike in the passage it had flown through, the minotaur limped toward the higher floors. It would have revenge. The brute who'd violated it was too strong, but the upper floors held that devil's kin. It would make them pay. Meanwhile, on the 16th floor, Liu Qiming rubbed his chin at the remaining minotaurs. He'd already booted one upstairs, but the upper dungeon was vast. What if it never met Belle? Decision made. Let's ship out a few more. Smiling, he blurred, a minotaur in each hand. Off you go. ×2. Ahu, moo-hoo. He listened as their cries shifted from pain to something almost thrilled, such zest for survival. He nodded approvingly. Dungeon monsters sure were tenacious, getting excited the moment they escaped. Right, the rest of you are useless, die. He raised his fist, then noticed Ice and the others arriving and slowly lowered it. Swish swish swish. Sword light flashed. The minotaurs turned to ash as Ice stepped into view. Qiming, so those were all the minotaurs that fled? Finn asked urgently. If any reached the upper floors, first-tier adventurers would be slaughtered. I was a step late. 3 got away. Liu Qiming shook his head and pointed up the passage. 3 escaped. We have to eliminate them fast. Finn glanced at him, puzzled how someone of his speed could let 3 flee, but now wasn't the time. If they didn't act, rookie adventurers would die. The group sprinted up the passage. What's this? Tiona spotted a 30-centimeter stalagmite near the exit, its brown surface dripping blood, the groove at its base pooled crimson. This. Finn stepped over, touched the spike, then sniffed his fingers. Minotaur blood, they're wounded. He scanned the surroundings. The dungeon's dim light didn't hinder his vision. Droplets of blood trailed from the spike into the distance. Follow the blood, they're injured and can't have gone far. Finn leveled his spear and chased along the trail. Dungeon, 7th floor. Smack. Bert kicked a minotaur into the wall, the impact pulverizing its organs. With a final roar, it dissolved into black ash. 1 down, 2 to go, pick up the pace. Ignoring the remains, Finn studied the blood on the ground. The single trail split here. One branch headed deeper into the 6th floor, the other up. Kimming, Ice, chase the one going higher. We'll take the 6th floor. They must not escape again. Don't worry, they won't get away. Liu Kimming took Ice toward the 5th floor. In the original, Bell's first trip there had landed him a jackpot encounter with a minotaur. The beast fleeing to the 5th floor now was almost certainly the one Bell had first met. Minutes later, they followed the blood to the 5th floor entrance. Ice knelt to examine the stains. Kimming, the last minotaur's inside, we have to find it fast. Liu Kimming nodded and tracked the blood deeper, Ice following and scanning the surroundings. Fewer adventurers than expected, damage should be. Roar. Wah. Just as Ice hoped they could intercept the beast before it harmed anyone, a furious roar and a terrified scream rang out together. Inside the dungeon's 5th floor. Belle Crenel, who had become an adventurer less than half a month ago, was cautiously moving forward. A rookie like him should have stayed on floors 1 to 3. Yet, ever since childhood Grandpa had filled his head with dreams of meeting a beautiful girl in the dungeon, adventuring together, and becoming a hero. He'd even forgotten Hestia's and his advisor Aina's warnings. Adventurers must not adventure recklessly. Behind him, in a corner, a minotaur gripped a huge spiked club, eyes locked on Bell. Minutes after entering the 5th floor, it had snatched the club from a goblin and had been hunting humans ever since. A few minutes ago it spotted this white-haired brat. Cautious, it shadowed him for a while. Now sure the kid was weak, time to strike. Ruar. Brandishing the club, the minotaur charged, howling, ready to make the boy suffer agony beyond imagination. Why does this have to happen? Still daydreaming of a damsel, Bell spun at the roar, and saw a minotaur bearing down, its blood-red eyes blazing with cruelty and rage. Ah! Panicked, Bell sprinted, tripped, and face planted. He scrambled up, dashed into the first passage he saw, only to find a dead end. Despair filled his eyes as he looked back. Ruar. Spiked club in hand, the minotaur stepped in, roaring in delight. It reached to grab Bell, planning to ram the club into the human as payback for its still bleeding lower body. Found you. Liu Kimming arrived, spotted the white-haired kid struggling in the monster's grip, and advanced with a faint smile. Thud. 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 Heavy footsteps echoed, tangible, blood-red killing intent oozed down the passage. The minotaur, about to shove the club into Bell's forced open mouth, frozen, began to tremble at the sound behind it. Boom. Crash. Ah. No. Huh, that hurts. Expecting pain, Bell instead felt the grip on him quiver. The next second something warm splashed over him and the monster slammed to the ground. Could Grandpa be right? Did a beautiful girl save me? Only it's me being saved from an ugly monster. Bell opened his eyes and turned, eager to see his rescuer. Why's it a guy? Nothing like, Grandpa said. Across from him stood a black-haired youth with a silver-white basin on his head, studying him curiously. Got a problem with me being male? Liu Kimming hadn't expected that greeting. Classic harem protagonist, he thought. No. Thank you for saving me. Realizing his rudeness, Bell bowed. Not a girl, but a pretty boy works too. Kimming, is he hurt? Surrounded by wind, Ice flew in, having rushed over after hearing Bell's scream. Liu Kimming half a minute faster. She landed beside them. He's fine, I got here just in time. Liu Kimming glanced at Bell, who now stared at Ice, stunned. Are you all right? Ice stepped closer, voice soft with concern. No. Ah. Heart racing, Bell sprang up to flee. He couldn't let this girl see him like this. Stop right there. Liu Kimming caught the fleeing Bell and yanked him back. With me here you're not running. In the original story Ice first got curious because Bell bolted after she saved him. Later, after awakening magic, Bell collapsed from an all-night grind and met Ice and Livia's returning from slaying the solitary King Udaios. Because he'd run before, Ice thought she'd scared him and waited for him to wake. Then he ran again, and so their bond grew, leading to her training him. Now that I've chosen him as my successor, he's not running. Anything you need. Could you let me go? Nothing big, just saying no need to thank us. The Minotaur reached the upper floors because we slipped up. He picked up the monster's magic stone and pressed it into Belle's hand. Consider this compensation for emotional damage. Huh. But you still saved me, I can't take this. Belle tried to return the stone. Even knowing their mistake had nearly killed him, he didn't blame them, he'd met a beautiful girl. TCH, just take it. Lu Qiming shoved the stone back, exasperated by Belle's naivety. In the original story that attitude won help but caused trouble too. Please accept it as our apology. Are you injured? Ice added gently. I. Smack. Lu Qiming clapped a hand on Belle's shoulder before he could stammer or bolt. Say thank you and, I'm fine, now. Lu Qiming glared. Want a bond with the pretty girl? Ask me first. As my chosen successor you're too weak to chase girls, ask before you try eating soft rice. Women will only slow your sword, master the blade first, then chase romance. Surgery started at 8, finished at 11:30. After injections it was past 2 when I began writing, now the anesthetics worn off. Doctors forbid painkillers, hands shake while I type, the incision burns like fire, first time I've felt muscles cramp from pain. Thank you, and, I'm fine. Seeing that Belle really was all right, Ice relaxed. She had been a little curious about this white-haired boy who always ran the moment he saw her. Now that she could see he was unharmed, she lost interest. For Ice, the only thing that mattered was getting stronger and catching the one who knew her mother's name. She would demand answers. Little rabbit, off you go. And remember, until you're stronger, don't come down to the lower floors alone. Lu Qiming patted Belle on the head and sent him on his way. There were still over 200 days to train him, time enough. Besides, he'd have to wait until he officially joined Hestia Familia. Qiming, should I go regroup with the captain now? Ice watched Belle disappear into the distance and asked. No need. We'll wait for them at the dungeon exit. With Finn's group, that Minotaur won't stay hidden for long. With that, Lu Qiming and Ice headed for the exit. The plaza outside the dungeon was busy even at this early hour, though most adventurers had yet to return. We're back. Let's wait for Finn over there. Lu Qiming led Ice through the crowd and sat down at a small food stall where they could spot Finn's team the moment they arrived. From here they could spot Finn's team the moment they arrived. Ice, want anything to eat? My treat. Lu Qiming glanced at Ice beside him. Mr. Potato Ball. Ice answered without hesitation, rare anticipation flashing across her usually stoic face. Boss, 2 orders of Mr. Potato Ball and 2 cups of tea. After calling out to the vendor, Lu Qiming opened his status panel. Mission progress. 1,001,000th submittable countdown. 292D12H3 meters. Name. Lu Qiming LV70, 150 million 1 billionths. Mind. 22. Strength. 22. Agility. 26. Endurance. 22. Class. Assassin skill points. 2. Lu Qiming studied his new stats. From the 50th floor onward even common mobs granted 10,000 EXP, while elites and fallen dryad avatars gave far more. Slaying the fallen dryad had dumped a mountain of express that rocketed him from 68 straight to 70. It had startled him, but then he remembered. Dryads were once divine splinters of this world's gods. Fallen or not, they were on another tier from common monsters. If you rounded things up, he had basically killed a demigod. Yet he'd still needed another 20,000 mission points, and unlocking a second layer of skills might cause a commotion. They'd been deep in the dungeon. If a few stronger fallen dryads burst up from the lower floors, the whole party could be wiped. Now that he was outside, it should be safe. System, submit trial mission. Ding. Congratulations to the host for completing your first trial. Rewards. Plus 5 levels, 2 bonus skill points, and, because you finished far ahead of schedule, an extra class draw usable for yourself or a soul-linked partner. Ding. Host may remain in this world for 292 days 11 hours 58 minutes, or leave early for the next. System, being this generous. Lu Qiming blinked at the panel. His level had jumped from 70 to 75, and he now had 5 skill points. But what he valued most was that extra class draw. With the right roll he could become far stronger. System, use 1 class draw. Ding. Activating class lottery wheel. Instantly the panel morphed into the spinning wheel he'd first seen. This time it displayed many classes he hadn't seen before. Sword Immortal, Beast Tamer, Martial Extremist, Battle Mage. System, why so many new classes? They weren't here last time. Ding. Completing your first class trial has unlocked partial system authority, granting access to more professions. Hearing the mechanical yet sultry female voice in his head, Lu Qiming understood why new classes had appeared. Suddenly he wondered, if he now had partial authority, could he choose the next world? System, can I designate the next world now? Ding. Current authority insufficient. Unlock more classes and complete further trials to raise system privileges. Lu Qiming bit into his potato ball and his eyes lit up, but before he could speak the system's voice returned. Ding. Reminder. Each world allows only 1 trial mission. Repeating a world will not unlock new classes or trials. Though the voice was the same, it now carried a weary, story-laden tone, clearly a system with history. System, I've got wine, you. Ding. This system has no stories. Spin now or forfeit the draw. Alright. Spinning, don't void it. Hearing that, Lu Qiming stopped digging for gossip. Nothing was more important than getting stronger. With a thought, the wheel whirled at lightning speed. Sword Immortal. Fine. Mage works too. He stared fixedly at the Sword Immortal slot. The moment he'd seen it he'd decided he had to land on it. Every Chinese kid dreams of riding a sword through the skies. As he chanted, within his core consciousness, a sultry system avatar appeared beside the giant wheel still spinning wildly. She watched the wheel, memories surfacing, the system's 9th host, the woman who had come closest to fully mastering the system. She hadn't been the strongest, but when she gained partial authority and the right to designate worlds, she seized control of 2 worlds at once and used her privilege to hop between them repeatedly. Class after class unlocked. With dozens under her belt and total control of both worlds, most trials became trivial. In the end she botched a single trial, and was buried on the spot. Ever since, the system had learned its lesson and implemented new restrictions. Just as those memories ended, the wheel slowed, the pointer swept past Sword Immortal and stopped on the adjacent slot, Heavenly Emperor. Ding. Congratulations, host, for obtaining the profession, Heavenly Emperor. Lu Qiming glanced at the roulette only he could see, the needle pointed at the profession, then he lifted the basin off his head. Heavenly Emperor equals stainless steel basin. Ding. Host, please choose to fuse, Heavenly Emperor, as your second profession or to bestow it upon your soul-linked partner. Before he could work out the conversion ratio between Heavenly Emperor and basin, the mechanical sultry voice prompt sounded again. If I don't pick Heavenly Emperor as my second profession, what happens if the system tries to make this basin my soul-linked partner? The moment he'd spun, Heavenly Emperor, it had felt like a class tailor-made for the stainless steel basin. Ding. The target you mentioned lacks a soul, so the profession cannot be inherited. Searching for viable solutions. Solution 1. After host upgrades, Soul Blade, to LV.3, use the extra binding chance to bind the stainless steel basin, giving it a soul. Solution 2. Host must travel to a world inhabited by the demon race, cultivate the basin into a demon, and grant it a complete soul and body. After hearing the options, Lu Qiming opened his status panel and tapped on the word assassin beside profession. Dual Sword Mastery LV3, Unparalleled Max, Soul Blade LV3, Godspeed Reaction LV3, Weakness Insight LV3. Moon Arc, Limit Pursuit, Instant Shadow. Death God. Skill points. 5. An inverted tree diagram appeared. He reached out and tapped Soul Blade. Ding. Host, confirm using the blank binding slot of Soul Blade. Once confirmed, it cannot be undone. Confirm, bind the stainless steel basin. Without hesitation he bound the basin in his hand. There was nothing to waver over for the companion that had crossed worlds with him. Binding successful. A nascent soul has formed and obtained inheritance qualification via Soul Link. Fuse the basin with the Heavenly Emperor legacy. Yes. With his confirmation, the stainless steel basin began to change, Pure white light blossomed, thunder roared, and rippling power surged from within. Joy and dependence flowed through the soul link into Lu Qiming's heart. Qiming, what's that? Across from him, Ice set down her Mr. Potato Ball and curiously leaned over to watch the transforming basin. In her memory, the basin had always sat on Qiming's head, coming off only at mealtimes to hold food. Now the dents and handprints were gone, the once ordinary object felt mysteriously alive to her. I just strengthened it with my power. He stored the basin back into his soul. Originally he'd only meant to reinforce it. Inheriting Heavenly Emperor had been a setup for its future demonization in a demon race world. But the newly strengthened basin sent him feedback. Thanks to Soul Blade, he could now draw 100% of the Heavenly Emperor fused basin's power. In other words, as long as he held the basin, he could use every Heavenly Emperor ability and passive bonus. Imagining enemies thinking him a helpless melee assassin and kiting him, only for him to whip out the Heavenly Emperor basin and blast them with ground-splitting Wave Sword, Wave Burst, Ice Blade Wave Sword, Blaze Wave Sword, Unparalleled Wave, Evil Light Slash, till they vaporized. Now that the basin had a budding soul and will, Lu Qiming officially gave it a pet name, Agon. Its real name could wait until it took human form. Oh. Ice nodded and lost interest. She knew Qiming had a skill that soul binds and empowers weapons. But why strengthen a basin? So it can hold more food. Ice, let's go. Finn and the others are out. Spotting Finn's party exit the dungeon, Qiming patted the distracted Ice and walked over. Wait, I haven't finished my Mr. Potato Ball. Ice crammed the last 2 potato balls into her cheeks and chased after him, mouth bulging. On the table they'd left, a Minotaur magic stone lay quietly. The expedition team gathered and headed for the Loki Familia home base. News of the Loki Familia expedition's return spread across all of Warario. Freya Familia. Freya stood transfixed at the window, eyes locked on Lu Qiming walking toward Loki Familia below. Wonderful. This child is magnificent, his soul shines even more dazzlingly. Freya pressed against the window, cheeks flushed. My lady, everything is ready, Lu Qiming will be yours. Behind her, Ottar knelt on one knee, unfazed by her state. Ottar, you assist as well. Even if Warario must be destroyed, we will have that boy. Understood. Ottar nodded calmly and left. He would give everything for his goddess. Elsewhere, Apollo Familia. Apollo kept dispatching Familia members, ordering them to find out how Lu Qiming's expedition quest had gone and whether he had already joined Loki Familia. You are mine. Apollo hugged himself, face twisted in an ecstatic grin. Lord Apollo, Lu Qiming has now entered Loki Familia. Continue surveillance. Hyacinthus, captain of Apollo Familia, entered and knelt. Keep watching, however, Hyacinthus. Apollo stepped behind him. Yes, Lord Apollo, it is my honor. At the gates of Loki Familia. We're finally home. Diona stretched lazily, utterly relaxed. The end of an expedition is so reassuring. Lefia gazed at the familiar headquarters and felt peace of mind. Finn stepped to the gate and told the guard. The expedition team returns from the dungeon, open the gate. Sir. The guard saluted, turned, and shouted inside. Open the gate. As the gates swung wide, Loki's voice rang out from afar. Welcome back. Is everyone all right? At the doorway, Loki sprang up and flew toward the crowd. More accurately, she pounced on the girls like Ice. Ice and the others nimbly dodged the incoming Loki, leaving only the dazed Lefia to fall into her clutches. Tilda. I've been so lonely, Lefia. Loki pinned Lefia down, relentlessly assaulting her sense of justice. Loki, this expedition had no casualties. We reached the 59th floor, discovered the fallen dryad and a few other things. I'll give you the full report shortly. Finn turned and headed straight for the Familia headquarters, the rest followed. Got it. Loki lifted herself slightly, answering without even turning her head. You help me. Lefia raised a hand toward the departing group, begging for rescue. Speaking of which, Lefia. She watched the blushing elf with an amused smile. Feels different. No way. With a shove, Lefia threw Loki off and shouted. So you've changed. I didn't shrink. Loki's lips curled. After teasing her, she could tell Lefia had grown, physically and otherwise, during the expedition. Tonight we feast. And let's welcome Qiming to Loki Familia. Lady Loki, Kimming didn't join our familia. Her smile froze, she pointed at Lu Kimming walking in with Finn and the others. Lefia, wasn't he supposed to join us? Why else would he come back with you? Everything had gone perfectly, an undiscovered floor cleared, 0 deaths, camaraderie forged, yet he hadn't signed up. Lady Loki, Kimming said Loki Familia isn't right for him. Not right for him. Yes. He wants to join Hestia Familia. What? He's joining that little shrimp's Familia. Loki's hair bristled. She'd found him first, how could she lose to that pint-sized goddess? Fuming, she stormed into headquarters to confront Lu Kimming. But before she could reach him, Finn dragged her into the conference room to debrief the expedition. Meanwhile, in a guest room of Loki Familia, Lu Kimming sat cross-legged on the bed and opened his status panel. At the top, the quest index now showed only the countdown of his remaining time in this world. Below, every stat had risen another 0.5 as the level up reward for completing the trial mission. What caught his eye was a brand new section at the bottom. Soul Equipment. Divine Judgment No Class, Stainless Steel Basin, Class, Celestial Emperor. He stared at the new line. It had appeared after he'd passed the Celestial Emperor Legacy to the Stainless Steel Basin. He tapped Divine Judgment. First, nothing happened. When he tapped Stainless Steel Basin, an inverted tree diagram popped up. Killing Intent Perception LV1 Wave Brand LV1 Short Sword Mastery Mutated Frustration Meaning LV1 Murderous Wave LV1 Dark Sky Wave Eye Mind's Eye Thunder God Aura Thunder God. The familiar skills arrayed themselves, and every Celestial Emperor effect surfaced in his mind. System, what's going on? He looked at his hands. The Celestial Emperor skills felt as instinctive as an assassin's, ready to use at will. Ding. Congratulations, host, for unlocking Soul Equipment early. Soul Equipment, what's that? He frowned. The system said he'd unlocked it early. Would it have appeared even without passing the legacy? Ding. Soul Equipment is an ability developed by the 19th host, forging soul links with weapon girls or guys as inheritors, ship girls, sword girls, armor girls, etc. He listened to the mechanical Oni-san voice, walked over, and gulped down a cup of water. He'd thought turning Divine Judgment and the Basin into humanoid wives was wild enough. But the 19th host had gone further, using whole, weapon races, as inheritors, treating them as wearable gear. He pitied the enemies of that host. Imagine a sword duel where the sword is a mage inheritor, the ring a healer, the clothes a shield girl, outwardly one fighter, but who knew how many souls battled with him. Incidentally, the 19th host hadn't died, he'd simply failed his trial mission and been stranded. Still mortal, he'd built a vast empire and countless towers. They were stuffed with treasures and his weapon race inheritors. After his death, those inheritors chose new partners and spun fresh legends. That world was called Magi. After digesting the info, Kimming sat back on the bed and summoned Divine Judgment. Divine Judgment, what class should I pick next? He slid a finger along the blade. Every world granted him a new class, but only for personal use. Only after completing a trial mission could the lottery prize be fused by him or given to a Soul Link partner. Rewards varied by mission. He wouldn't collect a harem of weapon girls like the 19th host, wives for daily life and gear for battle. But one partner for Divine Judgment wouldn't hurt, the rest he'd keep for himself, power belonged to the self. As if sensing Lu Kimming's resolve, the nascent soul inside Divine Judgment chimed in delight, sending waves of joy straight to his heart and urging him to go cleave a few monsters in celebration. Good girl, we just got back. I'll take you on a proper rampage in a few days. Lu Kimming stroked the hilt. The blade's bloodthirst no longer surprised him. Ever since Divine Judgment had fused with his soul, it had accompanied him through the slaughter in the dungeon, and the man he'd been back then hadn't been entirely stable. Both factors had shaped the sword's current temperament. Thinking of this, he drew again as well. A gentle, soothing presence emerged, like a caring big sister. Chime. When again appeared, Divine Judgment sang out, leaping through the air to nestle in Agin's basin, looking perfectly languid. Through their soul link Lu Kimming sensed their emotions. Somehow Divine Judgment now clung to Agin like a little sister to her elder sister. Come back. Lu Kimming smiled faintly, letting Agin and Divine Judgment return to his soul, unlocking a second-tier skill was safer with them inside. After all, they were part of him. Swish. Again carried divine judgment upward, slipping expertly into Lu Qiming's crown and merging straight into his soul. System. The panel before him flickered, the assassin class skills appearing, the normally gray second tier now glowed. Moon Arc, Limit Pursuit, Instant Shadow. He tapped each icon in turn, blazing light erupted as power surged from his soul, racing through every vein. Outside Loki Familia's headquarters night suddenly fell and a full moon rose, hanging high in the sky. The gods of Orario sensed the change at once and turned their gaze toward the Familia. What is this? The power of Moon. Apollo, being the sun god, instantly recognized the essence cloaking Loki Familia. That's not Loki's energy, it has to be that boy Lu Qiming. I must have him. Apollo stared greedily at the moon above Loki Familia. Clearly Lu Qiming had joined the Familia, received a Falna, and awakened the divine blood within. Now Apollo understood how Lu Qiming had possessed floor master slaying strength before ever receiving a Falna. His ancestor must have been a moon deity. Lu Qiming was a half-god carrying divine blood. You make me crave you more and more. Apollo turned and strode back into his own Familia. With Lu Qiming now under Loki, only a war game could wrest him away. Across the city, goddess Freya fixed her soul-seeing eyes on the moon above. To her, Lu Qiming's already dazzling, irresistible soul was ascending. From an ordinary human soul toward the divine, sprouting only a tiny seed for now. Yet this was the leap from mortal to god, given time that seed would grow, stretch, and one day become a towering tree. Atar, halt every plan. Gazing at his soul, Freya no longer viewed Lu Qiming as a toy or pet among her subjects, but as an equal. Toys could be fought over, but an equal deserved to witness why she bore the title Goddess of Beauty. She was no mere mortal tea seller, no one on earth could compare. Back in the divine realm she had driven countless gods and goddesses to their knees, even Zeus, king of gods, had sung her praises. Meanwhile, inside Loki Familia. Finn, Loki and the others had been discussing the fallen dryad and ice when the sky suddenly darkened. A full moon hung overhead, yet outside Loki Familia the sun was still setting. Finn, is someone attacking the Familia? Gareth looked to Finn first. If danger loomed, Finn's thumb would have reacted. No danger, this is actually something good. Finn glanced at his motionless thumb, then carefully sensed the changes within his body. Under the moonlight his recovery, speed, strength and mana had all risen by at least 30%. Come on, let's see what that rascal Qiming is up to. Loki rose and looked toward Lu Qiming's room, her usual playful grin gone. As they left the conference room, other Familia members began to gather. Bert in particular howled under the moon, his white hair glowing. Captain, is something wrong with Bert? Lefia hurried to Finn's side, pointing at the werewolf howling from the rooftop. Awoo. Under the moon the werewolf spread his arms as if embracing the lunar light, his howls echoing across the compound. Don't worry, Lefia. The moonlight's power is just stimulating his werewolf blood, he might even awaken a new skill. Loki had somehow crept behind Lefia and wrapped her in a hug, hands roaming freely. Help, Ice. Feeling Loki's touch, Lefia went limp and clutched Ice beside her. Loki. Ice glanced over, the sword of despair at her waist, accidentally, slid an inch from its sheath. Loki instantly released Lefia and strode to the front, suddenly all business. Across from her stood Lu Qiming's room. Creak. Before Loki could knock, the door swung open and Lu Qiming stepped out. Hey! What brings everyone here? He greeted them with a gentle smile. The killing intent that once cloaked him had vanished, replaced by a calm, moon-like serenity. Qiming, what just happened? Finn stared in disbelief. Barely half an hour had passed since they parted, yet the change was staggering. Oi, Qiming, did one of your ancestors ever romance a goddess? Before he could answer, Loki threw an arm around his neck and fired the question with a grin. Huh, what makes you say that? Lu Qiming blinked. Unlocking a second-tier skill somehow meant his forebear had slept with a deity. Brat, you didn't suddenly awaken divine blood, did you? How else could a seed of God condense inside your soul? Seed of God. The phrase made Lu Qiming pause, After unlocking the second-tier skill he had indeed felt power surge from his soul, remold and strengthen his body before settling deep within. But that was a seed of God. So I've decided to adjust the later outline and plot instead, trying to satisfy both sides. On a lighter note, when the nurse changed my bandage this morning the male doctor was so gentle. The gauze had stuck to the wound. Seeing me wince, he spent over half an hour easing it off tenderly. System, what is a seed of God? Lu Qiming asked the system immediately. He was only an ordinary human, where would he get divine blood? As for whether any ancestor of his had ever slept with a god, who knew? All he knew was that, back in his original world, the country had banned any supernatural beings since its founding. Ding. The seed of God is this world's term. It is the seed of profession that awakens after a class unlocks its second-tier skills. Regardless of the host's initial class, a seed of profession will awaken after the second tier is opened. The hatching of the seed of profession is the prerequisite for the host to unlock the third-tier skill, Reaper. Lu Qiming was about to nod when Loki's words just now flashed through his mind. He hurriedly asked again. System, am I still human now? Ding. Judging by genes, soul, and self-identity, although the host's lifespan, strength, and soul far surpass ordinary humans, you still fall under the broad definition of human. In addition, this system only inherits professions, it does not change the host's race. Should the host be dissatisfied with the current race, the system will not object to a race change. An emotionless mature female voice echoed in Lu Qiming's mind, calmly answering his question. Good, that's a relief. Lu Qiming exhaled. Although he envied other races, innate talents, being born human carried certain convictions. Besides, with the system he could perfectly rival gods while remaining human. There was no need to imitate Dio with Jojo, humans have limits, so I've decided to stop being human. Qiming, what are you spacing out for? Were you even listening? At this moment Loki was gripping Lu Qiming's collar and shaking him non-stop. What's up, Loki? Lu Qiming had planned to ask the system how to hatch the seed of profession, but before he could, Loki cut him off. Really, what I meant is, right now you're the perfect child in the eyes of every god in Orario, no, in the entire mortal realm. In all these centuries you're the first person to successfully condense a seed of God. You've done something even the legendary heroes of old failed to do. Every deity will definitely want you in their familia now. Saying this, Loki gave Lu Qiming a coquettish look, her eyes brimming with implication. Loki, I really don't suit the Loki familia, thank you for the offer. Lu Qiming looked at Loki earnestly. If his trial mission failed and he had to stay in this world, he would join the Loki familia. But there was no if, and he didn't want to leave this world like that either, so he could only join the Hestia familia. Only Bel could inherit his assassin class. After all, for a peerless assassin, how could you manage without a cheat? TCH. I found you first. What's so great about that pint-sized goddess? She just has a pair of indecently righteous breasts. Loki raised her hands in a huff, pressed them against her flat chest, and squeezed inward with all her might. Well, Loki, some things can't be forced. My hometown has a saying, if the chest isn't flat, how can one level the world? Lu Qiming patted Loki's shoulder consolingly. By the way, I prefer gathering the people's hearts. Who's forcing anything? Loki slapped Lu Qiming's hand away and stormed off with a huff. Qiming, since you've decided to join the Little Shrimp's familia, are you ready for the battles ahead? Loki turned her head toward Lu Qiming. This was one reason she wanted him in her own familia. As one of Orario's strongest familias, she could fully protect Lu Qiming, but once he joined the Hestia familia, plenty of gods wouldn't mind starting a war game to force him into theirs. Yep, I'm ready. As long as the gods don't personally step in, there's nothing to worry about, and Loki, you'll still be there, right? TCH. Sly little brat. Loki turned and walked toward the tavern, though she couldn't stop the smile on her face. Although Lu Qiming hadn't joined her familia, his bond with it was by no means weak. Hey, what are you all standing around for? Let's go drink and celebrate the successful end of the expedition. Ooh, tonight I'm gonna get the captain drunk and then. Tion, you're too loud. I'll drink all you scrubs under the table. The rowdy group headed for the tavern, each refusing to back down. Hey, Kimming, still standing there, scared of me or what? At this moment Bet turned around and gave Lu Kimming an arrogant look. Beside him, the rest of the Loki familia smiled at him too. Come on, Kimming, the banquet's starting. On my way. Lu Kimming flashed a big grin and strode toward them. Next morning, Lu Kimming woke up groggily, feeling something pressing on him. He reached out to push it away, then realized the texture was wrong. It felt fluffy, much like the ears of a dog he'd once petted. Lu Kimming's eyes snapped open. A silver-haired werewolf lay sprawled across his stomach. Dwarf Gareth hugged his thigh, and his right arm was pinned under Diona. What the heck? How did I end up with men on men? Lu Kimming shook his head. Memories of last night drifted back. First he'd been drinking with Bet, then Gareth and the others joined in. Eventually the entire Loki familia jumped in, grabbing anyone they saw for a drink. After that, nothing. Yo. Kimming, you're awake. Loki walked over, cup still in hand, the familiar scent drifting into Lu Kimming's nose. Loki, what kind of booze is this? He'd passed out only after drinking this stuff. With his current constitution, how could he get blackout drunk so easily? This. Loki lifted the cup, took a careful sniff, then a small sip, her face blissful. Good stuff, I got it from Soma. Only because you condensed a seed of God and won't be affected did I bother giving you any. Soma Familia's divine wine, no wonder. Lu Kimming shook his head, pushed the others off, and sat up. His movement woke everyone nearby. They all staggered up clutching their heads. Ouch! My head. Diona steadied herself against the table, one hand rubbing her temples. Here. Lu Kimming handed her his water cup. He'd spotted it on the table when he stood. Thanks. Diona accepted the cup without caring that Lu Kimming had drunk from it and gulped it down. Neither of them noticed Lefia nearby. Her face flushed as she watched them. Kimming, what are your plans for today? Finn, still clutched tightly by Tion, looked over at Lu Kimming. I need to let Sister Tia and Sister Anna know I'm safe. Lu Kimming said after thinking. All right, remember, tonight at the Hostess of Fertility for the victory feast and to hand over your share of Valis. Got it, see you tonight. Lu Kimming waved and hurried outside. He definitely didn't want to be around when Bet and Gareth sobered up and remembered they'd slept cuddled up to him all night. Did Kimming leave in a hurry for something urgent? Ice watched Lu Kimming sprint away the moment he stepped outside, a flicker of curiosity crossing her usually blank face. That guy's running because Bert and the rest woke up. Loki grinned mischievously. Beside her, Bert looked utterly crestfallen. Bert. What about him? Ice tilted her head, unable to connect Kimming's dash with Bert's gloom. All right, Ice, leave them be. Finn says you soloed a floor boss. Come to my room and let's update your stats. Okay. Ice stood and followed Loki inside. Her clothes slipped off, golden hair spilling over a pale back. Meanwhile, Kimming raced straight for Sister Tia's tea shop. Outside the tea shop, Anya leaned idly against the doorframe, staring vacantly at the sky, lonely, desolate. Yesterday, after hearing Kimming's expedition had ended safely, Tia and Anya had prepared a huge feast and even invited their best friends, the cat-eared twins Isis and Ilian. But they waited and waited. Deep into the night Kimming never showed, and the special outfits they'd picked were wasted. The other three were still catching up on sleep, leaving only Anya too restless to stay in bed. Sister Anya, what's wrong? While she daydreamed, a familiar voice sounded beside her, yet the feeling it gave off had completely changed. Kimming. Anya stared at the boy she knew so well. His face hadn't changed, but the frenzy, bloodlust, and imminent crack-up aura was gone. Now Lu Kimming felt like moonlight, mysterious, rational, calm. Most importantly, the basin that had sat on his head had vanished. Kimming, what happened? You've changed so much, and where's your basin? Nothing serious, Sister Anya. My power awakened, and the mission pressing on me is done. I feel free. Kimming hugged her with a smile and summoned again from his soul to show her. I don't understand what went on, but I'm glad you're okay. Still. Anya's smile turned tender. Her finger brushed his cheek, slid down his chest, and caught his hand. If you're fine, little brother, your big sisters are not. Huh. Before he could ask, Anya hoisted him over her shoulder and dashed eagerly into the tea house. Anya, why so rushed this early? Oh, Kimming's back. Anya, can the four of you handle him? If not, count me in. Me too. I've wanted to share tea and heart-to-heart talks with Kimming for ages. The girls who'd spent a hard night of talks blinked at the sight of Anya carrying someone in. Once they recognized Kimming, they burst into teasing cheers. Ignoring them, Anya dragged Kimming straight into Tia's room, slammed the door, locked it, and activated a sound-blocking spell in one breath. Sister Anya. Smack. Before he could finish, she tossed him onto the bed and silenced him with her lips. Anya, what are you doing? The commotion woke Tia and the cat-eared twins. They turned to look. Anya was writhing atop a figure, cheeks flushed, breathy moans escaping her. Anya, what are you up to? Tia snapped, fully awake, glaring. How dare Anya bring a stranger here? If you can't wait, use your own room. Tia, it's me. Kimming managed to raise a hand and speak. Kimming, you're back. Recognizing him, Tia's anger melted into a smile. She crawled over and gently poked his cheek. Little brother, you're late. Looks like big sister needs to teach you a lesson. The two cat-eared girls closed in, giggling, evening, outside the hostess of fertility. Finn's group had gathered, glancing at the setting sun and then down the road. What's keeping Kimming? Hurry up. Bert glowered at the crossroads. Today he was ready. He'd outdrink Kimming without passing out. And if he did collapse, it'd be beside ice. Give it a minute, something must have delayed him. Finn said, though the report he dug up on Kimming flashed through his mind. Don't tell me the guy's already drained and can't even walk. 5 minutes later, Kimming finally appeared at the far end of the street, hurrying toward them. Sorry, something came up. He apologized to the waiting crowd. Kimming, did something happen? Diona stepped close and sniffed him. Not the scent from the day of the expedition. I ran into Freya, took a while to deal with her. Kimming shrugged helplessly. Freya, what did she do to you? Loki lost her cool the moment she heard the name. Nothing much. She just hugged me, didn't ask me to join her familia, only invited me to dinner. When I declined, she simply said, next time, and left. Kimming was baffled. From their first meeting and what he'd seen in the anime, this was not the Freya he knew. If she hadn't hugged him without saying, Sky King covers Earth Tiger, or, odd change even unchange, he'd have suspected some transmigrator had hijacked her body. Looks like Freya's set her sights on you, not as a child, but as an equal. Loki studied him carefully. Which is good, handle Freya properly and you won't have to worry about her other tricks. With that, Loki strode into the hostess of fertility, no longer fretting over Kimming and Freya. She knew that once Freya treated him as a peer, life would actually get easier, for Kimming. Provided he didn't drown in the goddess of beauty's charms. Got it, thanks, Loki. Understanding Freya's intent, Kimming shrugged it off. Worst case scenario. Have a little, heart-to-heart tea. With Freya, he had nothing to lose. All right, let's start the victory banquet. Inside the hostess of fertility. Adventurers shouted and laughed, the racket so loud that passers-by outside couldn't help glancing in. Amid the uproar, a white-haired boy sat apart from the rest. Alone at the bar, a mountain of fried noodles heaped on the plate before him. Across the counter, a towering woman watched him with a grin. She was Mia, the bar's manager and former captain of the Freya Familia. So you're Sir's friend. An adventurer with such a cute face. That's none of your business. Bell answered wearily. He wished he looked tall and heroic instead. Clack. Mia set down a sizzling grilled fish right in front of him. Still hungry, right? Today's special. No. I didn't order this. Bell yelped, staring at the fish in horror. Don't be shy, kid. Ignoring his protests, Mia strolled off to greet other guests. Beads of cold sweat dotted his forehead as he eyed the appetizing dishes. He raised a finger and began muttering calculations. 300 valis for the noodles, 200 for the drink. Thanks to drop items I've got 4,400 on me, but I wanted to save it for the familia. He turned shakily toward the menu board on the wall. Today's special, $8.50. Seeing the steep price, Bell's heart ached for his dwindling purse. So, enjoying yourself? A silver-haired beauty in a maid dress leaned in beside him, smiling sweetly. I've been wrecked. Bell groaned at Sir, already mourning the valis he was about to lose. Hee hee. Sir laughed, then quickly apologized. Sorry, but tonight's tip is looking promising. How wonderful for you. Bell shot her a pout, stabbed a chunk of meat with his fork, and stuffed it into his mouth. All kinds of people come here, it's fascinating, isn't it? Big crowds mean lots to discover, I can't help staring. Sir's eyes sparkled with curiosity as she watched the noisy patrons. Meeting strangers, I love it and hate it at the same time. Sounds intense. Bell rolled his eyes, shoveling fried noodles from his overflowing plate. Suddenly a lively catgirl by the door, Chloe Rollo, called out. Reservation party incoming, NYA tilde. Right behind her sauntered Loki, hands on hips, the rest of the Loki familia filing in. Instantly the tavern fell silent, every head turned toward them. Then a stunning blonde in a black skirt stepped through the doorway. Whoa, knockout. Idiot, check her crest. She's Loki familia. The giant killer familia. So that's the sword princess. Who's the dark-haired guy beside her, lucky fool. Yeah, no crest either. How's he standing next to her? Moron, don't drag me down. That's the guy who soloed a floor boss before even getting a Falna, the Blood Berserker. The one they call the Blood Berserker. While whispers flew, Bell, noodles halfway to his mouth, froze. Spotting Ice and Liu Qiming, his face blazed crimson, noodles slipped onto his trousers unnoticed. Bell. Sir waved a hand in front of his vacant stare, puzzled. He'd been fine a second ago, what happened? Liu Qiming, walking beside Ice, smirked and glanced at the stunned boy. See you again, Bell, my chosen successor. Are you ready? At a big round table inside the bar, Liu Qiming's group took their seats. Loki stood, cup in hand, looking over her gathered familia. Everyone, cheers for surviving the dungeon expedition, tonight we party hard. Clink. Goblets met overhead, splashing wine everywhere. Yeah. Bottoms up. They downed their drinks and the revelry began. Bert grabbed Liu Qiming, eyes fierce. Qiming, tonight I'm taking you down. Oh. And who cried for Gareth and Diona to help last night? Liu Qiming pushed Bert's face away, too close for comfort. You're not a silver-haired wolf-eared beauty, if people think we're dueling with swords again, I'm done for. Meanwhile Bell, finally snapping out of it, gazed in awe at Liu Qiming and Ice. The Loki familia are regulars here, seems their goddess Loki adores the place. Sir leaned over, noticing his fascination. So if I keep coming, I'll see them again. Bell beamed, watching Qiming drink with Bert and Diona while Ice smacked Loki upside the head. Ever since they saved him from the Minotaur yesterday, he'd idolized Qiming's strength and fallen for the lovely Ice. Hours later, most patrons had gone, only Qiming's group remained, plus Bell who'd spent the night staring at them. Qiming, keep drinking, I swear I'll make you crawl out of here. Bert wobbled, shoving a cup at him. You can't even stand, sit down before you fall. Liu Qiming chuckled and tapped Bert's forehead. Pop. Bert collapsed, snoring on the floor. Hick, Qiming, what happened to Bert? A bleary Loki turned to see him asleep. Nothing, he's just drunk. Let him nap. Liu Qiming smiled, a harmless knockout beat dealing with a rampaging drunk later. He handed Ice a glass of juice, then raised his own cup toward Bell. Ice, want to meet the boy the Minotaur almost got yesterday? Ice spotted Bell. After their lapse had nearly cost him his life, she owed him an apology. Why are they coming over? Bell panicked when he saw the pair heading his way. Still single-handedly updating, yay me. Pride soaring, hands on hips. Strikes pose. Under a wooden ceiling and dim lights, a golden-haired beauty and a black-haired youth closed in step by step on a cute white-haired boy cowering in the corner. As Liu Qiming and Ice approached, Bell scrambled to his feet, cheeks reddening at visible speed, nerves took over and he inched backward. Yo, kid, we meet again. Liu Qiming caught the fleeing Bell by the shoulder and greeted him with a grin. Why run the second you see Ice and me? Are we that scary? I really appreciate you two seniors saving me last time, thank you so much. Then why bolt? Ice tilted her head, curiosity sparkling in her eyes. I'm just shy. I wanted to become a cool, strong adventurer like Qiming before thanking you properly. Bell stammered at first, but meeting Ice's curious gaze made his head spin and the truth spilled out. Do your best. Watching Bell, Ice saw a reflection of her younger self, yet one entirely different. The boy sought strength for its own sake, pure and simple, she sought it to find her vanished parents, even if it cost everything. Yes. I'll give it everything. A single cheer from Ice pumped Bell full of adrenaline. He itched to rush into the dungeon and wreak havoc right now. Easy there. With your sloppy skills you'll charge straight into a lower floor and end up monster chow. Lu Qiming slapped Bell's shoulder, warning the overexcited boy before he dashed off to die in overconfidence. Still, what a simple little pervert. One sentence from Ice and he's fired up, all his earlier timidity gone. Why did Lu Qiming call Bell a simple little pervert? A truly innocent boy trembles at the sight of a girl, barely able to hold her hand. Bell. First day back at the Adventurers Guild after meeting Ice, he asked what she liked and whether she had a boyfriend. By the way, Bell, has anyone ever taught you how to fight? A smile tugged at Lu Qiming's lips as he asked. No, no one has. What's up, Qiming senpai? Bell nodded, then lifted his gaze, eyes shining with sudden hope. Kid, want to learn how I fight? Want to know what a true assassin really is? Divine judgment appeared in Lu Qiming's hand, his eyes turned lifeless and cold, a dreadful pressure freezing the air, tangible killing intent slamming into Bell's heart. What is this? Bell stood shaking, suffocated by the sensation, the death cries of monsters echoing in his ears. Weakness spread through him as if death itself approached, despair flooding his mind. He refused to lose, not before meeting more girls, not before starting his heroic tale. If he died his goddess would grieve. He didn't want to die, he couldn't die. While Bell was trapped in that hallucination born of Lu Qiming's aura. Lu Qiming watched with satisfaction as faint white light drifted out and wrapped around Bell, calming his trembling. Nearby, Loki and the others who'd been wondering why Lu Qiming was bullying Bell now walked over. Loki in particular looked thoroughly displeased. Why did that pint-sized Hestia have all the luck? First Lu Qiming wanted to join her familia, and now this brat popped up. A goddess of her age recognized the glow at once, the power called yearning. Even after eons she had only seen it on heroes. Bell was weak now, but he was destined to walk the path of a hero. Qiming senpai, I want to learn your way of fighting, to become a true assassin. Bell opened his eyes, resolve firm, his formerly hunched back straight, his whole bearing transformed. Good. Starting tomorrow I'll teach you combat, and what a real assassin is. Lu Qiming sheathed divine judgment, the terrifying pressure vanished, replaced by a gentle smile, no trace of his earlier chill. Yes. Thank you, Qiming senpai. At the promise of real training Bell shouted in joy. Ever since the Minotaur incident when Lu Qiming saved him, Bell had idolized the man who without a foulness slew a floor boss and joined Loki Familia's expedition. Bell had idolized the man who without a foulness slew a floor boss and joined Loki Familia's expedition. But Qiming senpai, why say, true assassin? Aren't you the blood berserker? Bell stared in puzzlement, that was the title everyone knew. Smack. I am a genuine assassin, and Orario hasn't the faintest idea what a real assassin is. Lu Qiming rapped Bell on the head, how dare this rabbit question his profession. Then he turned to Ice and offered her his hand. Ice, want to join us? A radiant smile lit her face as she nodded and took his hand. Hey, Qiming, keep your paws off my Ice-chan. Loki dashed over and hugged Ice, shielding her like a mother hen. She'd never seen Ice smile at a man like that, alarms blared in her head. She knew exactly where Lu Qiming spent his nights, her innocent Ice might get devoured. Loki, what do you take me for? Do I look like that kind of guy? Lu Qiming felt his honor questioned, he only wanted to teach Ice. He had no ulterior motives, he was merely a passer-through, who knew when he'd return. Qiming, you know better than anyone what you are. Loki's dead fish eyes bored into him in silent accusation. Ahem. I'm just spreading love, boosting the tea shop's revenue. A man drinking tea, what's wrong with that? Hands on hips, Lu Qiming declared with perfect righteousness. He never paid for his tea, so technically he was only spreading love. Bell idolized him even more, never had he heard tea house visits sound so noble. He would learn everything from Qiming senpai, everything. Stars glittered across the sky, a bright moon hung high, its silver light draping all of Orario like gossamer. Outside the hostess of fertility, Lu Qiming was waving goodbye to Loki and the others. Only after a string of assurances did Loki grudgingly believe that Lu Kiming simply wanted to instruct Ice. Only then did she agree to let Ice train with him tomorrow. The real reason she finally relented was that Ice herself insisted. Seeing that, Loki had no choice. Still, she secretly resolved to spy on their training during the few days left before the monsterphilia. See you tomorrow, Kiming. Ice waved at Lu Kiming, then walked back to Loki's side. Finn stepped up, a pouch in hand, and handed it to Lu Kiming. There's a billion Valis in there, plus the divine ore Loki bought from Hephaestus. Thanks. Lu Kiming took the pouch and opened it impatiently. Inside was an Adventurer's Guild card worth a billion Valis. He ignored it completely, pulling out two fist-sized ores and studying them in the moonlight. One was silvery white, the other blood red, both shimmered with divine power. Before leaving yesterday, he'd asked Finn and Loki to source the very best ore they could find. He had no idea what it did. He never expected them to deliver two pieces of god ore. Finn, what did these god ores do? The instant they appeared, the divine judgment and again within his soul raved, desperate to devour them. The blood-red one is a slaughterstone dug from the ancient battlefields of the divine realm. It's born from the corpses of dead gods. It devours life force, evolves killing intent, and an artifact forged from it can even slay deities. Loki stepped forward, pointing at the crimson ore as she explained. As for metamorph, weapons forged with it can change at will and can't be destroyed unless a god personally intervenes. When she finished, Loki regarded Lu Kiming with a grave expression. I don't know what you need god ore for, but since I got these from Hephaestus, I have to ask, do you plan to use them to assassinate a god? When the gods first descended, many brought relics from the divine realm. The ores in Lu Kiming's hands were among Hephaestus's original stock. Long ago, someone had even used a weapon forged from slaughterstone to kill a deity. Afterward, for their own safety and peace in the mortal world, the gods ordered every slaughterstone weapon destroyed. The piece Lu Kiming held was Hephaestus's last. Only because a divine artisan is required to forge an artifact did Loki's guarantee persuade Hephaestus to part with it. Without that condition, Lu Kiming would never have obtained the final slaughterstone. Relax, Loki. I'm just collecting them. I absolutely won't harm any god in this world. Lu Kiming thumped his chest. At his current strength, trying to kill a god would be suicide anyway. He didn't see the gods as weak. They'd merely sealed themselves. They could unseal if they wished. By the time he had the power to hunt gods, he'd be in another world. Gods elsewhere, well, that was a different matter. He'd only promised not to hurt the gods of this world, not every world. All right, since you put it that way, I'll trust you. Loki gave him a long look, then said no more. To forge the ores into artifacts he'd need a divine artisan, and in Orario that meant only Hephaestus. Even if he left the city, no other divine artisan would help. After that ancient incident, they'd all vowed never to forge with slaughterstone again. So to Loki, aside from metamorph, Lu Kiming's god ores were little more than collector's pieces. I'll head back, then, any later and Sister Tia will worry. Lu Kiming stowed the ores, bade everyone farewell, and left. Belle copied his wave and followed, toward Sister Tia's tea shop. It was late at night, the busiest hour. Beautiful girls in alluring dresses lined the doorway, pulling adventurers inside with bright laughter. When the two youths approached, the girls greeted Lu Kiming warmly. Noticing Belle behind him, they grew even more enthusiastic. I live here, Belle. Meet me tomorrow morning at the field outside Orario. After exchanging greetings, Lu Kiming turned to Belle. Okay. Belle glanced at the eager beauties winking at him and stammered. The sight made him so flustered he could barely speak. See you tomorrow. Head home soon or your goddess will worry. With that, Lu Kiming stepped inside and headed straight for Sister Tia's room. Once he was gone, the girls swarmed Belle, a few hugging him and whispering in his ear. Little brother, come have some tea, sister promises you'll never forget it. One girl lifted Belle's chin with a finger, her limpid eyes locking onto his. Sorry. My goddess is waiting, I have to go. Startled, Belle wriggled free and sprinted away. Sally, look what you did, scaring off such a cute boy. One of the girls who'd surrounded him complained. Don't play innocent, you saw he's still a virgin and penniless. Would you? Sally, who'd teased Belle, smiled at the others. Why not? He can pay later, and someone that adorable drinks free as far as I'm concerned. A girl in her 20s giggled as she watched Belle disappear. You girls. Sally shook her head and said no more. Belle didn't run straight home. From a distance he stared at the tea shop, envy in his eyes as adventurers strolled inside. I envy Senior Kimming. Is this the mandatory path of the strong? He patted his pocket, resolved to train hard tomorrow. Once strong, he'd walk that path of the strong himself. It definitely wasn't because he wanted to taste what the girls promised he'd never forget. Finally finished before midnight, even running a fever and my head pounding. Some medicine tomorrow and I should be fine. Soft pink walls were lined with lamps at regular intervals, their bright but gentle light flooding the entire room. In the center, on a bed so large it occupied most of the space, Lu Kimming sat cross-legged with two divine oars resting on his thighs. Beside him, four flawless, tantalizingly pale figures, Sister Tia and the others, showed faintly beneath thin quilts. All four, however, were sunk in deep slumber and would not wake for another dozen hours. Looks like everything's fine, but man, big sisters really do have the edge, the back of your neck feels way better than Bert's. Lu Kimming flexed his left hand. The moment he'd stepped in he'd deftly knocked out Sister Tia and the rest. What he planned to do next wasn't meant for spectators, so the ladies would have to nap a little longer. He'd make up for tonight's absence, twofold tomorrow. Divine judgment. Again, come on out. Lu Kimming raised his hands and made an empty grip at chest level. A ripple shimmered in the air, two black shorts words appeared, followed by a stainless steel basin. Clang. Hum. Swords and basin quivered in greeting, radiating delight, anticipation, and hunger. Dig in. Divine judgment gets the life-stealing stone, again gets the 1,000 changes. At once divine judgment chimed, circled Lu Kimming twice, then plunged into the life-stealing stone and began to absorb it. Again was infinitely gentler, merely placing 1,000 changes into the basin and activating her talent. Seeing both weapons happily devouring the oars, Lu Kimming glanced sideways, might as well, when a chime rang. Ding. Detecting host soul armaments upgrading. Time remaining. 8 hours 5 minutes 36s. Do not recall or use them during this period or the upgrade will fail. Just as he reached for a few buns as a midnight snack, the system's voice echoed in his mind. He blinked at the floating divine judgment and again, grabbed the cold buns from the table and popped them into his mouth one by one. System, open the panel, in Klee's voice. Ding. This system lacks that function, please refrain from such frivolous requests. A mechanical yet regal female voice sounded as a pale blue panel unfolded before him. Stay countdown. 290 days 1 hour 5 minutes. Name. Lu Kimming LV 75 150 million 6 billionths. Spirit. 22.5. Strength. 22.5. Agility. 26.5. Physique. 22.5. Class. Assassin skill points. 0. Soul armaments. Divine judgment no class again Heavenly Emperor. After checking his level 75 stats, Lu Kimming tapped the assassin label. The familiar inverted skill tree appeared. Every tier 1 skill was lit, all at level 3 except the capped, unmatched. Tier 2 red. Moon Arc LV3 Limit Pursuit LV1 Instant Shadow LV1. He closed his eyes, a phantom moon formed, sending invisible ripples in every direction. A 3-kilometer domain centered on the tea shop blossomed into existence. From above, one could see endless moonlight streaming inward, sketching a translucent boundary. A faint domain barrier wrapped the entire area. Whoosh! Lu Kimming appeared in midair, hovering steadily. So this is Moon Arc, huh? He shut his eyes, perception stretched until, within 3 kilometers of sky and earth, everything mirrored itself in his mind. The drift of air, shifts in pressure, the breathing and heartbeats of sleepers, even worms twisting underground, he saw them all. Suddenly he turned. 3 men in black had stepped into the domain. What drew his attention wasn't the men, but the bundles slung over their shoulders. Courting death, perfect guinea pigs for a new skill. Whoosh! Lu Kimming vanished from the sky and reappeared before the trio. The men, who'd been congratulating themselves on a lucrative catch, froze. Who are you? What do you want? They leveled their weapons, unsure how he'd appeared and afraid to strike first. So with Moon Arc active, instant shadow costs almost nothing, nice. Ignoring them, Liu Qiming evaluated his second-tier skills. Moon Arc. Field skill. Everything within 3 kilometers becomes perceptible and boosts self and allies by 30%. Under moonlight the mana cost plummets, he could keep it up all night. In daylight, an hour at most. Ignoring me, die. One thug, enraged by the slight, swung his axe at Liu Qiming's head. TCH, I was going to let you live a few minutes more. Liu Qiming lazily lifted a finger and tapped the descending axe. Crack. With a brittle ring the expensive weapon shattered in the man's horrified gaze. I am possible. He stared in terror at Liu Qiming's calm face, as though nothing noteworthy had happened. The other two, sensing something amiss, opened their sacks and aimed their weapons inside. Stay back or we kill these brats, nobody wins. Under the moonlight their guns pointed at 2 unconscious girls in the sacks. The third thug scooped up a little girl from his own discarded sack. Stand still and let us leave. Once we're safe we'll release the kids, or we all die together. Fine, I'll let you go, as if. Liu Qiming flickered, the 3 girls vanished from the kidnappers' hands. Instant shadow. Anywhere moonlight reaches, if Liu Qiming can sense it he can appear there instantly. Arg, my hands. Under the moon their arms twisted like wrung rags, blood spurting everywhere. Hey, scum, who gave you the right to bargain with me? Liu Qiming regarded them icily. Only after rescuing the girls did he realize 2 were the little lawless who idolized him, Aaron and Ellie. Under argent moonlight a cold-faced black-haired youth stood haloed in silver, while opposite him 3 men in black writhed with twisted arms, howling on the ground. Which familia are you from? Who do you sell the people you catch to? Liu Qiming stepped forward, looked down at the one who'd struck first, and planted a foot on his wound. Ah! The man in black screamed, raised his head and glared at Liu Qiming with vicious eyes. Hey, want to know? Call me grandpa and I might consider telling you. Is that so? Liu Qiming expressionlessly lifted his foot and stomped hard toward the man's legs. With a succession of screams, left leg, right leg, and spongy tissue were all pulped. Hiss! Hiss! The man's face contorted in agony like a fiend, yet he still stared defiantly at Liu Qiming, not intending to answer at all. Didn't expect you to be a tough guy, though you're trash not even worth scum. Liu Qiming clenched his left fist and swung at the man's skull. Bang! The next second a headless corpse hit the ground, body still twitching reflexively. How about you two? Speak up and die painlessly, or follow his example. Ignoring the corpse at his feet, Liu Qiming turned to the remaining pair. Tangible killing intent surged from him, forming a blood-red moon behind his back. I'll talk, I'll talk. Unable to bear the twin torment of body and mind, one of the men in black yelled hurriedly. We're from the Aikilos familia. We mainly catch exotic monsters in the dungeon and sell them to nobles in other countries. Low-rank adventurers like us abduct boys and girls from Warario. Utterly terrified, the man poured out every scrap of familia intel he knew. Aikilos familia. Liu Qiming murmured the name and vanished on the spot. We're alive. The 2 survivors exhaled in relief and tried to stand to leave. Whoosh! A night wind suddenly swept past. Darkness claimed both men. Moments later the breeze drifted on, leaving only some bloodstains. The once invisible wind now carried a crimson mist that floated into the distance. At that moment Liu Qiming sat in Sister Tia's room, looking down at Ellie, Aaron, and the nameless girl on the bed. Had he not been testing a skill tonight and happened upon the 3 children captured by Aikilos familia, rescuing them? Their future would have been sale, to be bought by nobles and turned into, they got off easy. He glanced outside, a crimson mist drifted past the window. Since he'd promised those 2 a painless death, he would keep his word. For such people, the greatest mercy is a painless end, as for value in living, none whatsoever. Once matters are settled, wipe out the Aikilos familia. He walked to the sofa, sat down, and placed divine judgment and again before him. After checking the enhancement countdown on the panel, he lowered his gaze to his fingernails. In the instant he'd left, he'd flicked a nail through the air, the micro blade of compressed air turned the 2 into blood mist. Limit pursuit. Damage doubles with each successive hit, the longer the combo, the higher the damage. It was the only passive on the second layer, more combos meant ever-rising damage. A mere flick of his fingers had turned a merely wounding strike into a mist of gore. Satisfied, Lu Qiming leaned back on the sofa and closed his eyes to rest. Time slipped by. Dawn broke, the rising sun bathed sleeping Orario in warm light. Ding. Soul Gear Enhancement complete. Attributes as follows. Divine Judgment No Class, Auto Evolution. Grows with the host, can devour metals to gain their traits. Sentience. Having fused with the host's soul, its nascent spirit has awakened and will mature as it strengthens. Soul Blade. Every strike carries soul-rending damage. Slaughter, New, devours life and killing intent to evolve. Higher tier prey accelerates growth. Deicide, New, can wound a god's very origin, granting the power to truly slay deities. Again, Heavenly Emperor, Auto Evolution. Grows with the host, can devour metals to gain their traits. Sentience. Having fused with the host's soul, its nascent spirit has awakened and will mature as it strengthens. Bestowal. When wielded by its master, Lu Qiming, it perfectly channels all skill power. Myriad Forms, New, can transform into any weapon shape while retaining this ability. Unbreakable, New, near impregnable to gods, perfectly defends against physical and soul damage until destroyed. On the sofa Lu Qiming studied the stats of Divine Judgment and again. The new Slaughter and Deicide on Divine Judgment were expected. But again had gained not only Myriad Forms but also Unbreakable, reading the description. After confirming Sister Tia and the others were still asleep, he raised again to his chest with a solemn face. O stainless steel basin that holds the might of the Heavenly Emperor, reveal your true form before me, by our pact, release the seal. The moment the words left his mouth, again blazed with light, amid crackling lightning it turned into a silver-white liquid that flowed over Lu Qiming and became a white leisure suit. Master, please don't spout such embarrassing lines next time. As Lu Qiming admired his new outfit, a gentle, refined voice sounded beside him. Huh. Again, you can talk now. He looked straight at the suit, doubting the system was out of the question. Its usual emotionless dominatrix tone could never turn this warm and big sisterly. Yes. After devouring divine ore I advanced to a divine artifact and gained a complete soul. As for divine judgment, for some reason it developed two linked souls, they'll need more time before they're fully born. So divine judgment still needs a while. Lu Qiming glanced at the blade, thin crimson lines now threaded its once pitch surface. Through soul sense he could feel its spirit growing stronger, twins, no less. Reassured, he raised both swords and plunged them toward his chest. Qiming, what are you doing? And who are these girls? Did you feel like a change of flavor last night? Suddenly Tia's voice came from behind him. Sister Tia, don't joke. I rescued those 3 kids last night. He then gave her a brief rundown of what had happened. Thanks to Million Gods for 1 monthly ticket and tip, to Sword Saint Quan for 1 monthly ticket, and to Carefree Maple Bun for 1 monthly ticket. Spoiler. The Aikilos Familia will be Season 3's villains. When I outlined the plot I only planned up to forging Apollo, but remembering that Familia made me mad so I wrote them in, though they won't dominate the story. After Lu Qiming finished telling Sister Tia what had happened the night before, she fell silent for a moment, then walked over to the 3 little ones and gently stroked their cheeks. Qiming, thank you. Sister Tia, no need for thanks, it's only right. And why are you thanking me anyway? It's nothing. Looking at them just reminds me of how I used to be. Sister Tia brushed the long hair from her face and looked at Lu Qiming. When I was a child, I was snatched from my home and sold here. A tea shop finally bought me. After I earned enough, I bought my freedom and opened my own tea shop. I know I can't do much, only try to buy girls sold into Orario, send the ones with families back home, and help the ones without families learn a trade or work for me. Saying this, Sister Tia glanced at Anna, still asleep on the bed. How time flies. The little girl from back then has grown up, though unlike the others she never left the tea shop to find a new job. But Tia knew Anna had stayed to keep her company, afraid she couldn't manage alone. The girls Tia saved often return, handing over part of their earnings for her to use helping other girls trafficked from distant places. Letting her help those abducted from elsewhere. Sister Tia, don't worry. I can't speak for other places, but I'll wipe out Orario's scum before I leave. Lu Qiming stood, walked over, and hugged her. Yet his eyes were cold, He hadn't imagined Sister Tia's past, nor that such things still happened in Orario. Looks like Belle's future trial mission is set. I'll handle Orario's trash myself. Once I'm gone, the trash outside and any new filth will be Belle's job. Thank you, Kimming. Tia hugged him tightly. Scenes from their first meeting flashed through her mind. Him with that stainless steel basin on his head, outwardly calm yet secretly terrified and uneasy. In no time that frightened kid had become a famed, powerful adventurer in Orario. She believed he would do exactly what he promised. Kimming, love me. Tia pressed closer, her body burning, a sweet scent rising from her skin. Wait, Sister Tia. Lu Kimming pushed the pouncing Tia away and, seeing her puzzled look, quickly explained. Sister Tia, I've got something to do this morning. Can we wait until I'm back? Brat, I'll educate you properly tonight. Tia smiled, leaned in, and left a soft kiss on his cheek. Then I'll leave Ellie and Aaron in your care. If they wake up, don't let them leave until I return. Alright, I'll tell them when they wake. Lu Kimming rose, glanced at the 3 sleeping kids on the bed, then turned and left the room. Outside Orario, on an open patch of ground, Belle and Ice stood waiting. Belle kept sneaking glances at Ice, then quickly lowering his head again. He's here. Ice suddenly spoke, looking toward a figure walking toward them. At her words, Belle jerked his head up and saw Lu Kimming approaching with a smile, something in his hand. Belle, Ice, you're early. Here. Lu Kimming reached them and offered the steamed buns, they'd clearly rushed over without breakfast. Thank you. Ice took one and handed the rest to Belle. Thank you. Belle stammered, took one, and began eating. Belle, let me ask you one last time, are you sure you want to inherit my class? Lu Kimming's expression turned grave, he had to be certain of Belle's resolve before entrusting him with what was to come. Yes, Master Kimming. Belle set down his bun and looked earnestly at him, he truly wanted to grow strong and become a world-famous hero. Good. Since you accept my legacy, remember, we are assassins, the mightiest of assassins, the peerless assassin. Peerless assassin. What kind of assassin is that? Belle stared in confusion, it was the first time he'd heard the title. Even Ice, still munching her bun, looked on curiously. Belle, do you know what a normal assassin is? Lu Kimming countered. Master, I think an assassin sneaks up to the target and, without being noticed, uses any means to eliminate them. Roughly right, but that's what fake assassins do. A true assassin kills every witness along with the target. With no survivors, the job's done and no one knows. That's the real, peerless assassin. He clapped Belle on the shoulder. Understand. Master, is that still an assassin? Of course. As long as the mission's complete and no one notices, who can say you're not an assassin? Lu Kimming rolled his eyes, he'd spelled it out and the kid still doubted. Sounds about right. Belle nodded, half comprehending. If every witness is dead, who can deny he's an assassin? One more thing, after inheriting our class every disciple faces a trial mission. Mine was to slay 1,000,000 monsters or foes. As for yours, I'll tell you after the inheritance. Yes, sir. Lu Kimming looked at the excited Belle but kept the trial mission secret for now. Belle was still an innocent. In the original story other adventurers framed him and even kidnapped Hestia. Though he rescued her in the end and forgave the culprits, leading to a happy conclusion. That was just the anime. This is reality, and with the butterfly effect of Lu Kimming's arrival, who knows if the ending would stay the same. So Lu Kimming would reshape Belle's mindset during training, not a complete overhaul, but enough to kill enemies without hesitation. He doubted certain people would feel grateful after being spared. Mercy to a foe is cruelty to yourself, the only good enemy is a dead one. Outside Orario, on a stretch of emerald green grass, a white-haired boy was doing calisthenics in weighted gear. Sweat dripped off his cheeks, yet the boy showed no impatience, instead, he trained with growing focus. Belle, remember, a true assassin is forged from a mighty physique, unmatched speed, terrifying lethality, and, most crucially, a cheat. Right now you've got the cheat, and nothing else, so build the body and speed first. Memorize this, only the living can deal damage. Lu Kimming's words echoed in Belle's mind as Belle, still wearing the weights, started running forward. Not far away, Ice watched Belle's staggering run, then turned to Lu Kimming. Kimming, does this really help? In Ice's understanding, adventurers grew stronger simply by braving the dungeon and accomplishing great deeds. Even she only practiced sword skills. After a level up she might do some conditioning to adjust to her new stats. It helps. It's not as fast as dungeon delving, but for the still weak Bell it's enough. More importantly, I'm using this to let him master his body and temper his will. Before formal lessons begin, he must control his strength as naturally as breathing. Lu Qiming glanced at Bell, already near his limit yet still running. He himself had the skill, single-minded yearning, which skyrocketed his growth in battle, but Bell was different. Bell had no system, he couldn't instantly perfect every power boost. If he couldn't even master his own strength, becoming an assassin would be a joke. All right, let him train on. We'll start. Lu Qiming stopped watching Bell and turned to the Sword of Despair at Ice's waist. Ice, what do you think of the Sword of Despair? Think of the Sword of Despair. Ice tilted her head, drew the blade, and studied it carefully. A sword with the unbreakable attribute. I don't have to worry about shattering it in battle. Ice, do you see any difference between my divine judgment and your Sword of Despair? As he spoke, divine judgment appeared in Lu Qiming's hand. He laid it before Ice. The difference between divine judgment and the Sword of Despair. Ice studied the two blades. In her eyes the Sword of Despair was merely a sword, lifeless. Yet divine judgment in Lu Qiming's grasp seemed alive. Ice, treat the Sword of Despair as part of yourself. Trust it, not just use it. When you truly unite with it, you'll discover, the sword will answer you. The sword will answer me. Ice stared at the Sword of Despair, lost in thought. She had never considered this, always viewing her blade as a tool. From her first adventure till now, she had changed swords countless times. Only after acquiring the unbreakable Sword of Despair had she kept the same weapon. Yes, it will answer you. Just like divine judgment answers me. Recently, train your swordsmanship in the morning, at noon try to commune with the blade. Once you succeed and push your swordsmanship to the extreme, you'll grow stronger again. Lu Qiming looked at her solemnly. A sword soul is one who has reached the pinnacle of their weapon and sword skill, and earned the sword's recognition. The pinnacle of the sword is called sword soul. Once Ice achieved that, she could walk a path different from the original story. Even if he left this world, he believed she could still reach the apex of swordsmanship. I understand. Ice nodded and walked off. This time she practiced with a different mindset. While drilling her forms she tried to communicate with her blade. On the grass, eyes closed, Ice swung the Sword of Despair. Calming her heart, she no longer focused solely on technique but spoke to the sword in her hands. Lu Qiming watched from where he stood. Within moments her sword forms began to shift, reverting to basic stances. Her thrusts grew slower, yet wisps of wind curled around her with every move. Golden hair fluttered, pale green wind danced with her motions, making her look like a spirit of the breeze. Worthy of the woman with her own side story, she's already in the zone. At that, Lu Qiming glanced toward Bell. The boy was shuffling forward with vacant eyes, moving like a machine, then pitched face first to the ground. Reached his limit. Swish. Lu Qiming vanished, caught the collapsing Bell, drew a top-grade healing potion and a stamina potion from his pouch, and poured them into Bell's mouth. Cough. What happened to me? Half a minute later Bell opened his eyes to find himself lying on the ground with Lu Qiming seated beside him. Nothing serious, you blacked out from hitting your limit. How do you feel? Lu Qiming studied him. Bell's fundamentals were still lacking. Unlike Ice, a top-tier adventurer whose foundation was already laid, Bell needed the right direction to soar. I seem fully recovered. Master Qiming, what did you give me? Bell sat up, astonished. All the injuries from collapsing and rising again and again had vanished, his stamina was back, and he felt bursting with energy. Never mind what. On your feet, keep training. Yes, sir. Bell shouted, sprang up, and ran on, noticeably faster than in the morning. Not bad. Breaking limits again and again squeezes out potential and boosts strength. Even without my guidance he's learning to run fastest with the least effort. Lu Qiming smiled as Bell dashed off, then patted the small pouch at his waist. He had bought the potions that morning. Without top-grade support Bell couldn't keep this up without accruing hidden injuries. And so the hours passed, Lu Qiming dosing Bell with potions and coaching Ice, while the sun high overhead slid toward the horizon. At dusk Lu Qiming called a halt to their training. That's it for today. Same time tomorrow. Bell, take those weights home, keep them on except when you sleep. Yes, sir. Ice nodded absently, left hand still gripping the sword of despair. Today she had faintly sensed the blade, and her swordsmanship had begun shifting into something uniquely hers. A sword style belonging only to Ice. Ice, don't overdo it. Lu Qiming glanced at her. If he didn't speak up, she'd probably train straight through till dawn. I understand, Qiming. Then let's head back. Dinner's on me at Sister Tia's place. At dusk, Lu Qiming returned to Sister Tia's tea shop alone. As for Belle and Ice, one was too shy to come, and the other had been dragged away by Loki the moment Qiming finished speaking. She even threw him a pair of eye rolls as a parting gift. Qiming, you're back. At the doorway, Anna spotted Qiming walking over and hugged him in one go. Passing men cast envious glances, wishing they could take the black-haired youth's place. Sister Anna, are Ellie and Aaron awake yet? Qiming rubbed his head gently against her, the day's fatigue melted away. Only justice can soothe a wounded heart. They're up, and the captain of their familia is inside too. Anna pulled Qiming's half-buried head free and led him in. In the hall, Ellie and Aaron sat together. Opposite them, a square-jawed man with short blonde hair, looking steadfast and reliable, was scolding them. Ellie, Aaron, do you know how much our Lord and I worried about you too? Sorry, Captain. HMPH. You've gotten bold, sneaking into the dungeon, getting captured. If Lord Qiming hadn't saved you, do you know what would have happened next? Captain Gareth. Gareth was about to continue when he noticed Qiming and Anna approaching. He rose at once and strode over. Lord Qiming, thank you for rescuing Ellie and Aaron. The resolute man stood before Qiming and bowed deeply. No need for thanks, it was nothing. Anyone with a conscience would have done the same. Qiming raised the man named Gareth and gave his broad shoulder a friendly pat. Senior Qiming, you're back. The two little girls dashed over and hugged Qiming excitedly. Ellie, could you let go for a moment? Feeling something odd below, Qiming quickly pushed Ellie away. Ellie looked at him curiously. When her face had pressed against him, she'd felt something strange. Ahem. Well, that's divine judgment being mischievous. As he spoke, Qiming reached down and drew divine judgment from there. He could hardly admit it was because Sister Anna had teased him earlier. Wow. Senior Qiming is amazing. Ellie noticed nothing odd. She simply gazed at him in awe. He could pull a sword from there. So, just a little trick. Qiming stowed divine judgment away and quickly changed the subject. By the way, how did you two get caught last night? Where's the person who was captured with you? The one who was with us has already been picked up by her parents. Yesterday my sister and I went to the dungeon. On the 6th floor those men in black attacked us on sight. The next thing we knew, we woke up here. Ellie recalled everything she could and told it all. I more or less understand. Qiming nodded, getting the picture. Chances were the three men in black saw Ellie and Aaron alone, thought they'd fetch a good price, knocked them out, and abducted them. Lord Qiming, I'll discipline them properly when we return. Also, here's 1 million valis as thanks for saving them. Beside them, Gareth took the pouch from his belt and offered it with both hands. In that case, I'll accept. Qiming had meant to refuse, but seeing the man's resolute gaze he decided to take it, otherwise this steadfast fellow would feel forever in his debt. When Qiming accepted, Gareth exhaled in relief. He hadn't known how else to show gratitude, so he'd offered most of the familia's valis. Then, Lord Qiming, I'll take Ellie and Aaron back. Our lord and the rest of the familia are waiting for news. With that, Gareth glanced at the two, turned, and headed out. The two chastened little ones waved goodbye to Qiming and obediently followed their captain. Out on the street, Ellie stepped up and tugged her captain's arm. Captain, why are we leaving so soon? We only just saw Senior Qiming. Lord Qiming has business to attend to, we mustn't disturb him. Gareth wore the knowing smile of a mature man as he glanced back at the tea shop. Even though he's a holy knight, he still felt envious. Inside the tea shop, once Ellie and the others left, Anna dragged Qiming straight into a room and eagerly shut the door. Qiming, where's that naughty, divine judgment? Let big sister have a look. Anna leaned close, breathed hotly in his ear, and her delicate hand reached for divine judgment. Sister Anna, I haven't eaten yet, could we? No. Big sister is still starving, feed me first. With that, Anna pounced and pinned him down. A few minutes later, Tia and the others returned, set the food they carried on the table, and with smiles walked over to the bed. The next day, Kimming, who hadn't slept all night, climbed out of bed. Was it because he'd told Sister Tia he intended to clean out Orario's scum? But when he looked back at the four who had only just fallen asleep, he smiled and dismissed the thought. Rather than wake Tia and the others to ask, he'd rather let them sleep a little longer. He dressed, left the tea shop, and headed toward the open ground outside Orario. For the next 2 days, Kimming trained Belle in ice by day and spent the nights enjoying big sisterly chats. Not only did Belle's regimen expand from basic physique and willpower to fundamental assassin moves, the boy surpassed expectations, mastering the basics and growing stronger daily. His self-doubt turned to firm confidence, and his whole bearing began to change. Ice's training went smoothly too. She began to commune with her sword of despair and even grasped the first hints of phantom sword dance, the final move Kimming had taught her in the dungeon. Thus the day of the Monsterphilia arrived, and Kimming gave the pair a day off. Monster Fest. It's a festival jointly organized by the Guild and the Ganesha Familia, with the rest of the familias taking part. The guild posts quests, adventurers capture monsters alive from the dungeon, and on the day of the festival they're brought to the central venue for a grand exhibition and taming show. On this day, huge numbers of adventurers and residents of Orario gather to watch Monster Fest while sampling snacks that line the streets. Kimming, try this, it's delicious. On the avenue, Tia held out a crepe she'd nibbled once and offered it to Lu Kimming, watching him expectantly. Tia Gia, it's really good. Lu Kimming bit where Sister Tia had, then looked around while speaking. On either side, Sister Tia and Sister Anya were happily hugging his arms. Kimming, what are you looking at? Anna lifted her head at Lu Kimming. He'd been scanning the surroundings as if searching for something. Nothing, just that there'll be trouble soon. Don't leave my side, Tia Gia, Anya Gia. As he spoke, Lu Kimming spotted a familiar figure approaching, gazing at him with a lovesick smile. Kimming, long time no see, I missed you. Freya deftly looped her arms around Lu Kimming's neck and nestled against him, staring affectionately. Freya, what are you up to now? Oh, nothing. I just happened to notice a certain child, and since you weren't around I thought I'd claim him first. Ha, classic you. Lu Kimming pushed Freya away and gave a mocking smile. The child she mentioned could only be Belle. Impressive, first the grandfather, and now that he's returned to heaven she's set her sights on the grandson. In a way the whole family's neatly lined up. What, Kimming, are you jealous? Freya spoke as if she hadn't seen his sneer at all. Kimming, I'm the goddess of beauty, I crave beauty. Whether it's you or that child, I'll possess you. Right now I'm just seasoning him with trials so he'll taste better when I claim him. Is that so? Then good luck. Lu Kimming replied flatly, then pulled the still dazed Tia and the others away. As for Freya obtaining Belle, that was a joke. It had been impossible originally, and with him involved it was doubly so. You'll be mine eventually. But first, let's have an appetizer. Freya murmured as she watched Lu Kimming leave, then turned and walked off toward where the Ganesha Familia kept the monsters caged. Kimming, what did that goddess want? Only then did Tia dare speak. She and Anna had been too frightened to move. That deity had felt eerie and terrifying, and her inhuman beauty only added to their dread. She's the goddess stalker. All she wants is to drool over men. There's a goddess like that. The thought that the unbelievably beautiful goddess was a stalker made Anna shudder. Truly worthy of a deity, her mindset was beyond mortal comprehension. All right, forget her. Let's have fun while we still can. Soon there won't be any festivities left. Lu Kimming took their hands and led them toward a nearby snack stand. Kimming, I want Mr. Potato Ball. Anna tugged Lu Kimming like a child, pointing at a food stall down the street. Sure, but wait a moment, Anna Gia, it'll be ready soon. Lu Kimming ruffled Anna's golden hair and looked ahead. Rumble. The ground shook as a familiar man-eating plant burst from the earth, its python-thick body writhing, its head a gaping maw of fangs. Roar. What is that? A monster, how did it get out? Help. The moment the man-eating plant appeared, the festive crowd erupted into panic, people fleeing in every direction. Roar. Roar. With a roar, the plant's vines shot toward the crowd while its serpentine body swept the area. Ordinary folk and low-rank adventurers raised their weapons in despair, they couldn't even scratch the monster. The next instant, a figure appeared above the creature and slammed a fist into its head. Boom! The monster's head exploded, its body crashed to the ground. The earth quaked, dust billowed, and a huge crater formed, cracks spider webbing outward. Boss, 3 Mr. Potato Balls. Lu Qiming casually glanced at the magic stone at his feet and called to the vendor who still held a cleaver, ready to fight for his life. Ah, yeah. The stall owner stared at his cleaver, then at the monster Lu Qiming had just one punched. He tossed the blade aside, wrapped up every last Mr. Potato Ball and handed them over. Thanks. Stay put, the nearby monsters are all dead. Lu Qiming took the bag and casually flicked the man 10,000 valis. All dead. Lu Qiming nodded, raised the bag, and waved to Tia and the others. From midair he'd spotted ice flying nearby. Qiming, are you okay? Only now did Tia and the others realize what had happened, they looked at him worriedly. I'm fine, but I need to go somewhere. First I'll take you to Ice and the others. He lifted the 2 girls, tapped the ground, and soared off in the direction he'd seen Ice. Midair, Lu Qiming saw Ice facing several man-eating plants, with Tiona and her sister and Lefia beside her. Phantom Sword Dance. Below, Ice called softly, the Sword of Despair danced, sword chi shredding every plant in front of her, even grinding their magic stones to dust. Ice, looks you've fully mastered Phantom Sword Dance, killing only the monsters without harming the surroundings. Lu Qiming landed and smiled. She'd learned the skill only yesterday yet already controlled it perfectly. It was the Sword of Despair. While I swung, it told me what to do. Ice sheathed the sword and curiously eyed Tia and Anya in Lu Qiming's arms. Qiming, who are they? Sister Tia and Sister Anya. They've looked after me ever since I arrived in Orario. He set them down and asked Ice and the others to watch over them for a while. Qiming, where are you going? Tiona asked curiously. There's still a big show over there, I can't miss it. Lu Qiming looked off toward where monster roars and collapsing buildings still echoed. Thanks to Million God for the 100-coin tip. Rewind 10 minutes earlier. Belle was at a snack stall with Hestia. She stood with one hand on her hip, cheeks puffed, the other hand jabbing Belle's arm nonstop. So the person you want to find is a girl, huh? Belle, you're such a handful. What do you mean? Who knows? Hestia tossed her head in mock anger. Goddess. Before Belle could finish, a terrified scream tore through the air. Ah! A monster! Roar! Amid the roar a colossal white ape appeared, blood-red eyes locking straight onto Hestia. Come chase little me. Inside the white ape's mind Freya's voice echoed again and again, eyes bloodthirsty yet longing stayed fixed on Hestia. Be Belle, is that thing staring at me? Hestia stammered, pressing close to Belle. The monster's gaze felt eerily familiar, just like when Apollo looked at her. Run, goddess. Belle sensed danger at once, grabbed Hestia and sprinted away. Gura. Under Freya's charm, the monster ignored everyone else and chased the pair. Goddess, why's it after you? Do you know it? Belle pulled Hestia into a narrow alley, shaking the monster for a moment. First time meeting. Hestia had no clue why a monster she'd never met was fixated on her. Roar. Suddenly the beast's roar sounded overhead. Belle looked up to see it clambering across roofs in pursuit. Goddess, keep running. Belle tightened his grip and dashed on, but a black shadow slammed down the instant they rounded a corner. Boom. The impact hurled Belle and Hestia apart. Belle. Hestia screamed and darted in front of the monster. Goddess. As Belle moved to save her, the white ape turned, bloodthirsty eyes pinning him while letting out a murderous roar. Grr. Yet the ape ignored Belle, spun back and lunged for Hestia. You, get away from my goddess. Ignoring the killing intent, Belle roared, drew his weapon and sprinted. Thanks to training under a basic assassin regimen, he sprang off the ape's back like an arrow aimed at its skull. Back off. He drove his short sword straight into the back of the ape's head. Crack. The blade snapped, but its tip buried deep, fulfilling its last duty. Roar. Mad with pain the white ape flailed the arm that had reached for Hestia, thrashing wildly behind it. Belle. Hestia shrieked. If those blows landed Belle could die. I'm fine, goddess. Mid-air Belle danced like a butterfly on the wind from the monster's swings, landing safely in front of her. Belle, you've got an amazing. Hestia gaped. She knew he'd trained with Liu Qiming, but hadn't expected such change. Goddess, are you hurt? With that he lifted her and dashed toward another alley. This won't protect her. I dodged everything, but once it calms down it'll come methodically, and I'm out of weapons. How can I keep her safe? While carrying her he racked his brain for a way to save her. They burst out of the alley. Belle spotted a barred side street, sprinted over, set Hestia inside and locked the gate. Belle, seeing him stay outside and lock it, dread flooded Hestia. Sorry, goddess. With a soft smile he gave her one last look, then turned away. I'll buy time, please keep running. What are you saying? Open this gate right now. Goddess, I don't want to lose any more family. With that he charged the white ape, now leaping roof to roof toward them. Belle! 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 Hestia screamed after him. When he didn't turn back she spun and ran to find help, clutching the package at her chest. If no one came, at least she'd get this to him. Clutching the parcel she sprinted for the exit. Moments later she burst out, spotted a figure heading her way, and ran yelling without even catching her breath. Please, save Belle. Save my family. Running too fast she tripped on a stone and pitched forward. Goddess Hestia, no matter the rush, watch your step. A gentle voice lifted her into someone's arms. Huh. Liu Qiming. Hestia recognized the boy all Orario's gods had scrambled over not long ago. She herself had joined the chase despite knowing she stood no chance. Lately Belle never stopped talking about Liu Qiming. Thinking of Belle, Hestia grabbed Liu Qiming's arm, tears in her eyes. Qiming, please save Belle. He held the monster off so I could escape. Sure, but later you'll promise me one thing, goddess. With a smile Liu Qiming hugged her tight and sprang toward Belle. Mid-flight he glanced down at the tear-stained, stunning goddess in her revealing binding wear, yet felt no desire, only respect and tenderness for someone who cherished her familia as family. Besides Loki, he had never seen a deity like her. Truly the goddess I chose. Inhale, exhale. Facing the white giant ape, Belle exhaled deeply, as if to expel every last trace of fear and dread from his heart. Bring it on, monster. Belle crouched slightly, using the corner of his eye to scan the surroundings. Memories from the past few days of training flashed back, his muscles trembled faintly as strength gathered. Roar. With a roar the white ape leapt from the roof, aiming straight for Belle, its massive foot slamming down to crush his head. All it wanted now was to trample the tiny thing that had hurt it into pulp, then go catch the woman who'd fled. Boom. The stone floor shattered the instant the ape landed, the shockwave sent shards flying faster than bullets, punching holes through nearby walls and windows. Grrrah. The next second the ape sensed something wrong underfoot. No warm, wet feeling it usually got when crushing other monsters. Whoosh. Suddenly, from the dust the ape had kicked up, a white-haired figure burst out, gliding like flowing water toward the distance. Roar. Instantly enraged, the white ape swung the iron chain in its hand straight at Belle's fleeing form. Crack. Boxes and barrels along the street exploded under the chain, but Belle had already accelerated away before the strike landed. Grrrah. Fury mounting, the ape chased, hurling massive fists and thick chains. In seconds half the street was wrecked, debris flying everywhere. Sprinting ahead, Belle dodged the flying rubble while scanning for a chance to escape. Suddenly a corner ahead caught his eye. He shifted course mid-sprint, kicked off the wall, and shot around the bend, vanishing from sight. Roar. The white ape spotted the move at once, smashing everything aside as it thundered in pursuit. The moment it rounded the corner, the ape felt something wrong and crashed to the ground, off balance. Smack. Smack. Still on the ground, it felt something thud onto its head and looked up. Grrrah. A furious roar burst out. The runt it had been chasing now stood high above, holding a huge millstone, gazing down coldly. Die. Belle yelled, hurling the millstone. It smashed squarely into the back of the ape's head where a broken sword blade was still lodged. Roar. The impact drove the blade deep into the ape's brain. Agony made it even more berserk. Still not dead. Belle stared at the white ape as it struggled to its feet, eyes locked on him. Has Lady Goddess gotten far enough away? If I die, how much will it hurt her? Can she bear it? A faint smile on his lips, Belle raised his eyes to the sky. He was spent, with no strength left to run. Gramps, I protected my family. The white ape's roars cut off. It bent its colossal frame, bringing a head the size of Belle's torso right up to him. Grr. Fetid, blood-tinged breath washed over Belle. Crimson eyes glared at the human who had nearly killed it. This time Teacher Kimming and Miss Ice won't come to save me. I'd love to see them again, but maybe it's better this way, they won't see me like a wreck. Staring into those blood-red eyes, Belle murmured as memories of his first meeting with Liu Kimming and Ice surfaced. Lady Goddess, Teacher Kimming, Miss Ice, goodbye. Gramps, I'm coming to join you. Roar. As if it had seen enough, the white ape raised a fist overhead, aiming straight at Belle. Hey, Belle, I've already seen you looking this pathetic, and this time I'm not lifting a finger. I'm sure you'd rather finish this guy off yourself. Liu Kimming's voice rang out as crimson moonlight bathed everything within 3,000 meters. The white ape froze, fist still raised. A closer look showed it wasn't paralysis, it was fear. Trembling uncontrollably, every white hair stood on end. Belle. Teacher Kimming. Lady Goddess. Hearing the voice from above, Belle jerked his gaze skyward. A blood-red crescent moon hung in the sky. Below it, Liu Kimming floated midair, cradling Hestia, smiling down at him. Belle, well done. Liu Kimming glanced at the destruction the monster had caused and at the bleeding wound on its head. Scenes of how Belle had dragged it around and counterattacked flashed through his mind. Kimming, get down there, Belle's badly hurt. In his arms, Hestia tugged his sleeve, pointing at the pale, battered Belle below. Liu Kimming gave a last look at a rooftop nearby where a black-robed figure watched, a strand of silvery white hair dancing in the breeze. Then, ignoring Freya observing from afar, he landed beside Belle. 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 The instant her feet touched the ground, Hestia leapt from Liu Kimming's arms and threw herself around Belle. Lady Goddess. Belle, where are you hurt? Hestia sprang up and began lifting Belle's clothes to check. Lady Goddess, I'm fine, just some scrapes. Belle quickly grabbed his pants before Hestia could yank them off to inspect for injuries. Seeing that, Hestia stopped. After all, they were outside, she'd examine him thoroughly once they got back tonight. She then stood, tiny face furious, and kicked the motionless white ape several times. You dared chase us and almost made me lose Belle. All right, Lady Goddess. Belle hurried over to pull Hestia back. If the ape suddenly attacked and hurt her, it would be disastrous. Belle, catch. Once Hestia had calmed down, Liu Kimming took 2 top-grade healing and stamina potions from his bag and tossed them over. Thanks. Belle caught them and drank both on the spot. Liu Kimming walked up to the white ape, patted it, and looked at Belle. Belle, how about making this guy your first target as an assassin? Teacher Kimming, but my weapon is already broken. Belle looked dejectedly at the back of the white giant ape's head. Had his weapon not shattered, he was confident he could kill the monster in front of him. Weapon. Don't worry, Lady Hestia has prepared one for you. As he spoke, Liu Kimming glanced at Hestia's impressive, at the parcel resting against Hestia's chest. Goddess, you're ready. Belle also turned to Hestia, curious. I meant to give it to you earlier, Belle, but now is perfect. Smiling, Hestia lifted the parcel from her bosom and held it out to Belle. Open it, Belle, and defeat this monster. You're the adventurer who wants to become a hero, Belle Crenelle. Yes, Goddess. Belle took the parcel, unwrapped it, and a black short sword appeared in his hand. He drew the blade gently, divine script running along the steel shimmered softly. Goddess, this is. Belle stared at Hestia, feeling the short sword call and respond to him. It's our weapon. I call it the Hestia blade. Hestia smiled as she watched the divine script on the Hestia blade, recalling her fellow god Hephaestus's words. Hestia, listen carefully. After you engrave divine script onto this short sword, it will gain its own status. In other words, the weapon is alive. The moment you place it in the hands of your child, Belle Crenelle, it will be reborn and grow together with its master. Thank you, Goddess. Belle swung the Hestia blade. Now he was certain he could slay the monster before him. Belle, point the sword at me. Huh. At you, Goddess. Yes, at me. Reluctantly Belle aimed the short sword at Hestia. She raised a finger and lightly touched the edge. Divine blood trickled down the tip, bathing the blade in blue light. Belle, from this moment on this sword belongs to you alone. Hestia lowered her finger. The Hestia blade had recognized its master and become Belle's personal weapon. Belle, are you ready? The moonlight cloaking the area faded. The blood-red waning moon in the sky sank behind Lu Qiming and vanished. The white giant ape, frozen in terror, lowered its head to look at the three humans at its feet. Yes, Teacher Qiming. Then go. Lu Qiming smiled, lifted Hestia into his arms, and leapt onto a rooftop. Ruer. The instant Lu Qiming carried Hestia away, the white giant ape reared up, roaring, and whipped the chain around its wrist straight at Belle. Clang. The dark blade met the chain. The iron links shattered instantly, though the terrifying force still sent Belle stumbling back several steps. That's your current strength, Belle. That short sword is alive. The more you grow, the stronger it becomes. On the rooftop, Hestia leaned out and shouted down. My growth. Belle gazed at the short sword, memories of his arduous training in basic assassin drills surfacing in his mind. I can win. He pitched forward, crouched slightly, confidence flashing in his eyes. Roar. With a roar, the white giant ape raised an arm high and smashed it toward Belle. Boom. The earth cracked, clouds of rubble and dust erupted, the terrifying impact shaking nearby houses so hard Hestia nearly toppled from the roof. Whoosh. Amid the dust, Belle sprinted along the ape's arm, flipping the Hestia blade in his grip. Ultimate kill slash. With a low cry, he slashed the giant ape's throat. Blood sprayed from the wound. Ruah. The intense pain drove the white giant ape into a frenzy. Its white fur began turning blood red, its savage aura growing ever more terrifying. Ruer. Within seconds, the white ape turned crimson. The sword lodged in the back of its head was forced out, and the gash in its neck writhed and healed rapidly. It went berserk. Lu Qiming narrowed his eyes at the transformed ape, then glanced toward Freya in the distance. Causing trouble again. You grow ever more delicious, I can't wait to have you. I'll savor every part of you. On a distant rooftop, Freya's low murmur sounded, her thighs rubbing beneath her black cloak, a twisted, entranced smile on her face. In the street, Belle stared grimly at the completely changed monster, a lethal aura washing over him. Here I go. His body shot forward like a black shadow, circling the crimson giant ape at high speed, leaving a trail of after images. Roar. The berserk crimson ape's eyes blazed red, its fists hammered like pile drivers, smashing at the phantoms beside it. Boom boom boom. Thunderous crashes echoed through the street. The ground was pitted and broken, holes appearing one after another. Suddenly Belle flickered, a string of after images rushing toward the crimson ape. Whirling dance slash. The black blade carved a huge wound across the ape's chest. Belle stamped against the ground, vaulted behind the monster, and slashed from chest to back. Pierce. In midair, Belle's calm voice rang out. The Hestia blade stabbed into the ape's skull and ripped upward, splitting its head in two. Groa. Boom. As Belle landed, the crimson giant ape reached toward Hestia on the rooftop, then crashed down and dissolved into black ash, leaving only a magic stone behind. I won. Belle stared at the magic stone at his feet, his exhausted body gave out and he sat down hard. We won. Belle, you did it. The instant the monster turned to ash, Hestia cheered from the rooftop and jumped straight down. Goddess. Below, Belle quickly raised his arms and caught the diving Hestia. Fantastic. Belle, you succeeded. Hestia hugged Belle tightly, rubbing her cheek against his. Congratulations, your first assassin mission completed perfectly. Lu Qiming landed beside them, picked up the magic stone, and handed it to Belle. Thank you, Teacher Qiming. You earned it yourself, thank yourself, and Lady Hestia. Thank you, Goddess. Lu Qiming stepped in front of Hestia and looked at her quietly. Lady Hestia, do you remember what I mentioned? That matter. Hestia tilted her head, thought for a moment, and looked at Lu Qiming. Qiming, whatever you need, just say it. By the name of Hestia, I swear I'll do what I can. Please let me join the Hestia Familia. What? Qiming, you want to join my Familia? Hestia sprang from Belle's arms, staring at Lu Qiming in shock. She hadn't expected his so-called request to be this. Yes. Is that not allowed, Lady Hestia? Lu Qiming smiled at the stunned goddess. It's not that it's forbidden, but why my weak Familia instead of Loki's or Freya's? Hestia was utterly bewildered. With powerful factions open to him, he chose her tiny group that boasted only one rookie adventurer. Loki and Freya Familias don't suit me. Lu Qiming shook his head. Loki's bunch was fine, except he couldn't afford their A-cup tax. As for Freya's familia, he had no intention of delivering himself to her doorstep. Join them and the goddess might summon the entire familia that very night for a group heart-to-heart. The thought made him shiver. Goodness knew how many gods, humans, and beast men Freya had slept with over the eons. Lady Hestia, please let me join your familia. Really? I'm begging you. Lu Qiming took her hand, resolute. No, 8 cups, or live sockets for him, thank you. Yay. Wonderful. Qiming's joining, now let's see Loki mock me for being flat. Hestia cheered, ecstatic. At the next divine banquet no one would laugh at her anymore. Teacher Qiming, will you be our familia's captain now? Belle leaned in, eyes shining. No, the captain is you. Belle, Ace must have told you, I'll be leaving Orario soon. The familia will rest on your shoulders. You're leaving Orario, Qiming. Hestia, who'd been bouncing happily, came over at once. Yes, there's something I must do, but I'll definitely come back. Lu Qiming looked at the two of them, Hestia, Belle, the Loki familia, Tia and the others. In this short time he'd already forged so many bonds. For their sake and his own, he would master the system and return to this world. Belle and I will wait for you. Hestia didn't ask why, she simply supported him. Everyone has their own path, a goddess need only bless her children. Thank you, Hestia, no, my goddess. Lu Qiming nodded firmly. No matter how long it took, he would return. Even if many were gone by then, this was his promise. All right, let's go home. Hestia seemed to sense something. She tiptoed, stroked his hair, and gave him a sweet smile. Goddess, you two head back, I've something to do. Remembering Tia and Anya, whom he'd asked Ace to watch, Lu Qiming needed to check on them. Qiming, is something wrong? Hestia tilted her head. I know, teacher's going for tea. Belle raised a hand, sure he'd crack the code. I won't stop you, but it's still daytime, so, please be discreet. No, listen, I really. No need. Just come back tonight so I can bestow your falna. Hestia grabbed Belle and dashed off, afraid her child would be led astray. I'm just. Watching them run, Lu Qiming swallowed his explanation and glared at Belle. Looks like your training's too lax if you've energy for gossip. Prepare yourself for my loving tutelage, Belle. He turned toward Ace and the others, already planning how to care for Belle. Evening. After waving goodbye to Tia and Anna outside the tea shop, Lu Qiming headed for the slums. Soon a dilapidated church appeared. Without pause he stepped inside and found the basement entrance Hestia had described. Goddess, I'm home. In the cramped room he glanced around. A rickety table, a battered sofa, a single bed heaped with quilts. A far cry from Tia's room, yet it felt cozy, like home. Welcome back, Qiming. Hestia bounded from the sofa, sniffed him to check for strange scents. Goddess, is this our familia base? He pushed away the goddess who, now in casual clothes, was practically crawling over him, giving him a full view of everything. Still, the goddess of bust lived up to her name, impossibly large, dazzlingly white, he approved. HMPH. Our Hestia Familia HQ, nice, right. Hands on hips, she beamed. After Hephaestus kicked her out she'd lived here, through effort the once squalid cellar had become quite comfortable. Great base, worthy of a goddess. He ruffled her hair, looked around. Where's Belle? Buying dinner to celebrate your joining. She sat on the bed and patted the spot beside her. Qiming, take off your clothes and come here. Take them off, what for? He froze, staring. Was this really okay? A lone man and woman in a dim basement, deep in the deserted slums. A smiling, child-faced, impossibly endowed girl on the bed telling him to strip. If she wanted anything, no one would hear a sound. Of course I'm granting you a blessing, Qiming. Are you shy? Hestia walked over with a smile, pulled Lu Qiming to sit on the bed, and began unbuttoning his shirt. Whoa. Qiming, your body is amazing, so firm. Her small pale hands poked and prodded, brushing across his skin every now and then. Lady Goddess, weren't you going to give me a blessing? What are you doing? Lu Qiming caught the mischievous hand at his chest. He hadn't expected the virgin goddess Hestia to have such a hobby, though her hands felt incredible. If they paid homage to a gorilla, it would probably feel amazing. HMPH, what's wrong? I'm just checking your physical condition. Hestia puffed her cheeks and planted her hands on her hips. All right, Lady Goddess, check as much as you like. Swallowing, Lu Qiming stole a glance at the towering peaks inches from his face and hastily raised 3 hands in surrender. Your justice wins. Then lie down obediently. He complied, stretching out on the bed. A startling softness pressed against his waist. The next instant warm breath brushed his back and a faint milky fragrance slipped into his nose. Qiming, are you ready? On his back, Hestia held a slender needle and leaned down to ask. I'm ready, Lady Goddess, do it. Lu Qiming turned his head slightly and gave a small nod. He'd long looked forward to this world's unique power system. A blessing, granted by a god let ordinary mortals break the limits of life itself, growing swiftly through battle-earned experience. Yet every stage varied, each body held different potential, each accumulated experience differed. Take Bel. Blessed with Zeus's blood, he'd piled up experience far beyond normal at level 1. After advancing to level 2 he could easily defeat an average level 3 adventurer. When experience reached its peak, one could perform a great feat, to break through again, transcending life's ceiling and elevating one's very essence. In short, it was a path letting an ordinary human keep gathering experience, accomplishing great feats, and ultimately even stand beside the gods. On his back, Hestia pricked her finger, a drop of scarlet blood tinged with divinity welled up, and she pressed it gently to Lu Qiming's skin. Instantly the blood merged into him. Pale blue light flared from his back, and sacred characters glowing milky white began to surface while Hestia studied them intently. Lying prone, Lu Qiming felt something strange. The moment her finger touched him, a warm current poured through his body, washing flesh and soul alike. Crack. Only he heard the sound. Joy bloomed deep in his soul. The next second a fierce warmth surged from within, half into his soul, half through his body, flooding every limb. Wherever the warmth passed, muscles realigned, bones strengthened, his heart pounded with new vigor, and richer, brighter blood coursed through his veins. Meanwhile his mind rang with endless system pings, but before he could open the panel, Hestia gasped behind him. So many skills, wait, what is this one? What's wrong, Lady Goddess? Hearing her cry, Lu Qiming twisted to look. Qiming, never let anyone see your status, especially your talent. No one but me, not even Bel. She pressed a sheet of paper to his back, slid off him, and stared at him gravely. Even she hadn't expected such potential. When Orario's gods learned he'd defeated a floor boss without a blessing, they'd already hailed him as the one destined to fulfill their age-old wish. Yet she, and all of them, had still underestimated him. If other gods discovered he'd gained this skill at level 1, Qiming war would erupt. Is it really that serious? It was the first time he'd seen Hestia so solemn. Curiosity about his own status flared. Yes, it is. She handed him the paper bearing his status. Lu Qiming LV. 1. Strength. 0 to 99. Endurance. 0 to 99. Dexterity. 0 to 99. Agility. 0 to 99. Magic. 0 to 99. Magic spells. None. Skills. Unrivaled, Soul Blade, Twin Sword Mastery, Lightning Reflex, Weakness Insight, Lunar Arc, Limit Pursuit, Flicker. Talent. Seed of Vocation, The Primal Beginning, Infinite Possibilities. He wasn't surprised by the stats, the numbers shown weren't raw attributes but experience accumulated toward the next rank. Everyone started this way. Through battle and adventure the tally would rise. When a bracket reached 99, the stored experience would strengthen the body and the counter reset. Only upon hitting one's innate limit would a great feat be needed to break through, i.e., to level up. Curious about the talent that had made Hestia gasp, he spotted Seed of Vocation. Wasn't that the thing born when he'd unlocked his second skill tier? The system had said he must incubate it to the 3rd stage before he could open the Assassin Ultimate, Death God. Why did Hestia's sheet call it, the Primal Beginning, Infinite Possibilities? What does that mean, Lady Goddess? HMPH. It means your potential is limitless. You're only a level 1 adventurer now, but one day you'll stand equal to the gods themselves. She hugged him proudly. Orario's, no, the world's finest, child, was now hers. Just then, a noise came from the basement entrance. Belle walked in carrying bags of food. Goddess, Teacher Kimming, what are you doing? Across the room, Hestia was draped over Lu Kimming, bouncing happily with her enormous breasts pressing against his chest, rising and falling with every hop. Belle, you're back. Hestia sprang out of Lu Kimming's arms and curiously eyed the bags in Belle's hands. Let me see, what goodies did you buy? She snatched the bags, plopped onto the sofa, and began rifling through them with sparkling eyes. Goddess, slow down. I know. Belle, come help, this wine's about to spill. Coming. Belle hurried over. That bottle was a gift from Sir, given when she heard there'd be a party tonight. Lu Kimming watched the two flustered people by the sofa, exasperated yet warmed. The clamor filled the shabby basement with a sense of home. System. A familiar pale blue panel appeared the next instant. Ding. Congratulations, host, for acquiring a second-class adventurer. Second-class slot unlocked. Ding. Congratulations, host, for breaking through your life tier. Lifespan increased. All stats +3. Strength, spirit, agility, vitality. Ding. Detected that adventurer is a special class. System requests permission to archive. Agree. What's this? Lu Kimming rubbed his chin, studying the messages. Unlocking adventurer had delivered far more than expected. Even after inheriting assassin, he'd merely been far stronger than ordinary people. Yet that didn't free him from mortality. Even those who surpass humans eventually reach life's end. He'd meant to ask Hestia about extending life, or even changing race, but it seemed unnecessary now. If he recalled correctly, when the gods of Orario bestow a blessing, they hand their familia the key to godhood. In other words, as long as Lu Kimming kept raising his adventurer class, his life tier would keep climbing, lifespan extending until he became a god and gained eternal life. Suddenly he remembered. Updating the adventurer class required a god's touch, a restriction the gods placed on blessings, to bind familia to them. But he would leave this world in just over 200 days, how would he update his status then? Ding. Please choose whether to archive adventurer. Successful archiving will grant a reward. The system's chime cut his thoughts short. Looking at the prompt, Lu Kimming's mouth curved upward. Right, he was a man with a cheat. Big, agree to archive. Ding. System has archived the new special class. Congratulations, host. Reward, limit break. Granted, stats will auto-update upon reaching cap, no longer restricted by gods. Hey. His grin widened. Any class the system archived couldn't be ordinary. Now he could keep leveling even after leaving Danmachi, breaking through life tiers unhindered. Kimming, food's ready, come here. On the sofa Hestia bounced and waved. Coming, goddess. He dismissed the panel and walked over, sitting beside her. Then let's welcome Kimming to the Hestia Familia banquet, begin. One hand on her hip, the other raising her cup, Hestia looked at the two of them. She was finally no longer alone. Cheers. Cheers. In the dim basement 3 cups clinked. They laughed together. From this moment they were familia, they were family. Morning. The basement was still dim. Lu Kimming rose from the sofa and gently shook Belle. They'd celebrated late into the night. After getting drunk Hestia had insisted all 3 sleep together in bed. Family should share a bed, she'd claimed. Fearing any R-rated accidents, he and Belle had refused, tucked the goddess into bed anyway, and spent the night on the sofa. Good morning, teacher. Belle greeted him, then habitually moved to wake Hestia. Let her sleep a little longer. Lu Kimming caught Belle's arm, pointing at the smiling goddess. Then, shall we train? Belle sat obediently beside him. Not today. We're going to the dungeon. You'll hunt solo on the upper floors and rack up excelia. You've finished the basic assassin drills, now it's real combat. Lu Kimming patted his shoulder. For Belle now, mere drills helped little. Assassins aren't forged in practice but in blood, only through slaughter do they become true assassins. Yes, sir. Belle nodded, excitement flashing. He longed to see how far he could go. Gear up and move out. Lu Kimming handed him several top-grade potions and stamina drafts. Thank you, teacher. Belle's heart warmed. I'm heading deeper. Don't do anything reckless, I don't want to hear you died tonight. With a wave Lu Kimming left, he intended to grind his new class deep in the dungeon. Yes, teacher. Half an hour later, in front of the pub where Mamma Mia worked. Lu Qiming stood at the entrance, watching a small figure with an enormous pack trot beside Belle, chattering as they entered. Lily, looks like Belle's adventure is about to begin. Then he too stepped into the dungeon. Belle would be tricked by Lily at first, but her heart would be swayed by his sincerity and kindness. She'd leave her own familia and join Hestia's. For now he needn't interfere. When the remnants of the Soma familia stirred trouble, he'd act. Let Belle win Lily over and claim his first harem member himself. Minutes later, amid the stream of adventurers, Lu Qiming entered. The light dimmed, monsters' roars echoed, and the crowd dispersed into the labyrinth. The gloom, the snarls, the stench of blood and beast, what terrified ordinary adventurers made Lu Qiming's heart race. A thirst for battle spread across his face. I'm back, darlings, miss me. 'Cause I sure missed you. Crack. On the fissured, dark wall, blood-red eyes glared at the approaching figure. Roar. With bloodthirsty howls, monsters tore free of the wall and lunged straight for Lu Qiming. Here come the cuties. Lu Qiming smiled at the encircling monsters, those familiar wolf heads and spiked clubs, old friends indeed. Sensing his thoughts, the divine judgment within his soul sang softly, urging to be let out so it could hack everything to pieces. Not today, divine judgment. Again. The moment the words left his mouth, a glob of silvery liquid welled from his palm and solidified into a 1.2-meter long sword. Grr. A half-werewolf sprang from nowhere, jaws gaping toward Lu Qiming's throat. Crack. The fangs met what felt like steel, snapped clean in half, blood dripping from the broken stumps. Hey! Lu Qiming glanced at the yelping half-werewolf, smirked, gripped Agin's hilt, and swept the blade in a wide arc. Ice blade fluctuation soared. The temperature plunged. Rampant frost sealed everything, instantly freezing every monster in place. Crackle. Cracks webbed the frozen statues, which then shattered, leaving only magic stones on the ground. Ashy motes rose as stones clinked down. Phew. A white breath drifted from his lips. Lu Qiming admired the corridor, now a glittering expanse of crystal, the dark floor transfigured. Then let's keep going. He stroked Agin's blade, looked toward the stair to the next floor, and walked off, leaving ice and magic stones behind. With 100 million valis in his pouch, these petty stones weren't worth the bend. The seconds spent could earn him richer drops and more experience. Whoever finds them first can have them. Minutes after Lu Qiming left, the first lucky soul arrived. Lord Belle, come look. A tiny gray-haired prum, giant pack on her back, burst in and gaped at the frozen corridor, purple stones glinting on the ice. Lily, don't stray too far, it's dangerous. From around the corner a white-haired youth watched the prum anxiously, then froze at the sight of the icy passage. This is Lord Belle, come grab stones, there's heaps. On the slick ice, the money-mad Lily scooped stones, slipping but undeterred. Lily, isn't this wrong? What if someone sees? Relax, Lord Belle. Some loaded top-tier adventurer slew the lot and couldn't be bothered to loot, finders keepers. She plucked another stone, beaming at the glittering harvest. Hurry, Lord Belle, or someone else will come. Oh okay, coming. Belle rushed over and joined the harvest. What a lucky day. Eyeing the piles, Belle imagined how many valis they'd fetch, enough for a feast with his goddess and Master Qiming. 17th floor. The instant Lu Qiming stepped through, a furious roar shook the wall as a colossal head thrust out, eyes locking on the black-haired youth with the silver sword. Though newborn, Goliath felt bottomless rage the moment it saw Lu Qiming, an urge to pulp him into mash. That soul-deep fury sent Goliath berserk. It smashed free of the wall and charged like a tank, fists hammering down. Yo, old buddy Goliath, back so soon. Bit eager, aren't we? Lu Qiming blurred, dodging every blow with ease. Roar. In its frenzy the titan felt its pride scorned. Why was the pest greeting it like a pal? Its maw gaped, mana visibly pooling inside. Boom boom boom. A hail of mana blasts erupted, obliterating Lu Qiming's spot. Shockwaves rattled the entire 17th floor. Grr. Amid the dust cloud Goliath howled skyward, the insect's presence had vanished. What are you howling for? A figure burst from the dust, foot stamping midair to climb higher. Mid-leap Lu Qiming inverted, sword raised, edge glowing as mana converged. Asura evil light slash. A titanic blade of light spanned half the floor. The once towering Goliath looked child-sized, helpless, puny. Boom. The slash split Goliath clean in two, then plowed into the 17th floor beyond. 18th floor, safe zone. In the adventurers' town, explorers rested or grudgingly sold surplus stones and drops to shrewd merchants at cut-rate prices. Suddenly the entire floor shook. Denizens of the 17th stampeded toward the entrance, trees toppled, and adventurers fled to open ground, staring in terror. What's happening? Dungeon outbreak. Monsters are all fleeing downward, can't be an outbreak. Then what? I've never heard of the dungeon quaking. A female adventurer collapsed, pointing skyward in horror. What is that? Every head snapped up. The sight overhead sapped all will to resist, dropping them to their knees in despair. Half the crystal ceiling of 18th floor was gone. An immense sword light filled the sky, streaking straight for them. By Lady Freya, what in the world? I must be dreaming. Has some seal broken? Is something unleashing its full might? I want back to Orario. I'm getting married. I don't want to die here. Cries of despair rang out. Some thought to fight, but one look at the sky filling radiance and they dropped their weapons, resigned to fate. Thanks for watching.